Okay. All right. Knock everybody. Okay, so welcome. It's 6:03. This is the Executive Committee of Community Board 1. We are going to do something a little bit different this evening. We're going to make sure we stay totally on time. But with that being said, our first presenters in partnership to come and present this topic will be camera. So the audio will be running. There'll be no cameras in the room. And then when they leave, the cameras will resume. All righty. So with that, Zach.
Video is off.
Fantastic. So we want to welcome our team from the FBI New York City field office. Come on in. Jason, go hi.
To them that they were the men in
They're right there. They can introduce themselves. Our main contact has been Jake Baylog.
My name's Jake. Nice to meet you all.
And take it away.
And I'll introduce myself as well. My name is Emily Betson, and thanks so much for having us.
The mics, they pick up in cross.
Oh, yeah. We had to turn them on.
But there's the pictures.
Okay. Your presentation will pull up. Presentation will be shared as well. And just for housekeeping, if you were sitting around the table, even on the side walls, I promise you, whatever side chatter you say get picked up by the fantastic mics. So if you think cracking a joke or just commenting won't be picked up, that'll live on YouTube forever. So be cautious. Okay, there we go.
Well, thank you, everybody. We really do appreciate it. Again, my name is Jake. I'm a special agent with the FBI, and I also serve as our offices, New York field offices, election crimes coordinator. We put together a presentation, and you're actually our first group that we're doing community outreach regarding this. So you are our pilot group of people. So the point of this is just to give the people in our community some insight onto what the FBI is doing regarding election crimes, and then how you as community leaders can help us identify these threats and issues within the community so we can better address them. So as I mentioned, I'm the election crimes coordinator in the New York office. Emily is also an election crimes coordinator in the New York field office. The FBI has been investigating election crimes since the 1970s. And it has become a more formalized role as we move on. So my job is to be the subject matter expert on all things election crimes, work with partners, both in law enforcement and the intelligence community, to better address election issues and threats that we face. So my job covers three main focus areas: federal election crimes, election security collaboration, and threats to election workers task force. And again, as I mentioned at the beginning, the purpose of this is really to inform you all on what we do so you can help us better address these threats and identify them in the community. We can do as much as we can investigating, but what we really rely on is people submitting tips and complaints to us to help us identify these threats.
And our idea is that since you guys are kind of community leaders, you're among people who are sort of dealing with things that come in day out. What we're really hoping is that people feel comfortable coming to you, complaining about things, or even just a wayward comment here or there. You can kind of say, wait a minute. But that's the sort of thing that, that's illegal. That's something that somebody can do something about. And we're the people that can do something about that.
Exactly. So the FBI categorizes election crimes into three main categories. The first is voter ballot fraud, civil rights violations, and then also campaign finance offenses. So just the first one starting off is voter and ballot fraud. The grand concept of this is really when somebody abuses or misuses a ballot or a vote to try and attempt to sway an election. And there's about five main schemes that we see that this falls under. The first is illegal voter registration. So when somebody registers a vote in someone else's name, the vote buying, which is self-explanatory, but when somebody pays someone to vote a certain way, multiple voting, when someone votes in multiple jurisdictions or multiple times within one election, ineligible votes, that's when people who do not have the authorization to vote in an election, for example, in federal elections, if you're a foreign national, you can't vote in US elections. And then finally, malfeasance by polling officials. So that's if someone, a poll worker or someone within the elections industry tries to do something to abuse the system. The other tranche of election crimes that we focus on are civil rights violations. And there's really two schemes. But the general idea of civil rights violations, as it pertains to election crimes, is preventing the person from having the opportunity to vote. So those two main schemes are threatening somebody with physical or economic harm to vote in a certain way. And then there's also deceiving someone with the time, place, and manner of voting. So that's if someone says you can now vote online, or voting is canceled today and it's going to happen 3 weeks from now. That's something that we investigate.
Yeah, and that's voter suppression is something I'm particularly interested in, and it's sort of a little bit of a nuanced concept, but just something to look out for. Anyone that says X party vote on a date that's not the election, on Monday or on Wednesday, anything like that, something like the way Jake alluded to, sort of texting a vote. So that's sort of when we talk about the manner, texting to vote. You can vote, via email. You can vote all these different ways. Anything that would make somebody render their ballot ineligible by voting in this different way. That's sort of, it's not protected speech. That is not something you're not allowed to lie to somebody so that they don't exercise their right to vote. Something that we'd be really interested in, and it's sort of a little bit more difficult for us to identify, again, on the sort of holistic level, it's sort of granular grassroots people, such as yourselves, who are able to bring that to our attention.
And then finally, the last major category we focus on is campaign finance offenses. Again, the grand concept for something like this is if somebody tries to improperly put money to a candidate or to a certain campaign. And there's many ways people can do this. The one common way is excessive contributions. If someone is putting too much money into a campaign, many local and state jurisdictions and federal jurisdictions require or only allow so much money to be put into a campaign. The fraud and abuse of campaign funds, that's when a campaign or a candidate misuses their funds for personal gain or what's not defined by the policy or the laws. Domestic prohibited sources, so that's like corporations trying to put money directly to a candidate rather than a committee. Foreign prohibited sources, that's when foreign nationals try to put money into a U.S. campaign. Conduit contributions and straw donors. So this is a concept that requires a little bit of explaining. It's really what it boils down to is when somebody gives money to someone else to put into a campaign. And the reason why we'll do it sometimes is to obfuscate where the money is actually deriving from. So it would be if person A gives person B money, person B submits the money to a campaign in person B's name. We know in reality though, person A is the source of those funds.
And this is a problem because it allows people to do excessive donations. Let's say you're capped out at 5,000 and you give a bunch of other people $5,000, you're having sort of more influence than you should in terms of money. So there's that problem, but then there's also the issue of it deprives the public of the right to know who's sort of funding these different candidates, which is something that's really important. And that's kind of the backbone of the whole campaign finance system, is that the American people have the right to know who's giving those people money, to whom they may be beholden to when they get into office. And this deprives us, the voters, of our right to know who's supporting these candidates.
And then finally, super political action committees or super PACs is when those organizations misuse their funds for, again, personal gain, or maybe they're misleading their donors or misusing the funds that they gain. And one thing to point out for this in particular, but really all three categories, what matters to us is the intent and willingness and knowingness of the individual committing these crimes. We're not interested in people who are doing this and are being misled or defrauded by doing this. It's really about the people who are orchestrating these schemes and organizing these efforts. So what is not a federal election crime? There's a lot of things that people see in the news or see out on social media that look bad, but does not reach the federal criminal threshold. And that's
or are not illegal at all.
Yeah, or not illegal at all, period. So a couple things to point out is giving voters a right to the poll. There's time off the vote. It's not illegal. Offering voters a stamp to mail an absentee ballot. False claims about oneself or another candidate. That is not illegal. False or forged nominating petitions. Asking an opponent to withdraw from a race. honest mistakes by polling place workers, and campaigning too close to the polls. Now, that last one, for example, that's a New York State violation, but at the federal level, that doesn't, that is not illegal. It's not something that we investigate. So the other thing that I focus on, or that we as a team focus on, is election security and collaboration. So long are the days where we're only focused on campaign finance or only focused on voter ballot fraud. We're also worried about foreign influence. We're worried about cyber threats and intrusions into our election systems and our critical infrastructure. So my job is to coordinate with people in our community, law enforcement agencies, and at the federal, state, and local level to make sure that we're all on the same page. We're working together to secure our elections, to make sure that when people like yourself go to the polls to vote, that you're able to submit your vote with confidence and without issue. And then the last thing that I focus on is threats to election workers, which has become a growing issue. So in 2021, the Department of Justice and the FBI came together and developed the Threats Against Election Workers Task Force. That was because of the political climate and things going on in our country, that poll workers, state officials, federal officials were being threatened for the work that they do to advance democracy and to do their job. My job is to identify and investigate and mitigate those threats to make sure that people who are working our elections are safe and secure. I know not everybody here may be involved in the election process, but you all vote. You are all out in the community. You may see things or hear things on social media, or a friend may say something, or you may hear it in passing about threats to an election worker. Something that we take very seriously. So we just ask you keep an eye open for something like that.
It doesn't even have to be something as specific as a threat, even just kind of doxing somebody or putting somebody's name out there, putting pictures out there with sort of a suggestive, and like, wonder what they're doing. You know, these kind of threats can take a lot of different forms. We kind of always think, I'm going to come get you, or something that's really specific. A threat can be anything that makes a person feel unsafe or unwilling to continue in this role.
And it's only related to elections in this regard.
Not necessarily. So the FBI at large, we do investigate threats, right? Our job specifically is to work with election workers and make sure they're safe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We actually have people on our board who volunteer for the things. And
Yeah. Oh, great.
yeah.
That's great. We have very close partnerships with the New York City and New York State Board of Elections. We're hoping to push out information through those channels as well. One thing I wanted to provide as an example of where maybe some challenges that we face when it comes to threats to election workers. We want to be as proactive as we can, but here's maybe an example of where you may read an email and a message or a threat that may sound bad, but it doesn't meet the federal criminal threshold. And that's a very important distinction. So on the left, you have a person saying, I've lived here for 17 years and I can't believe the horrible job that you're doing. You're so bad at your job. It's not really a threat, right? It may increase to a threat. It may be a form of harassment, but it doesn't reach the federal threshold. For a situation like this, we may work with New York State Police or NYPD to help us investigate those crimes at a local or state level. On the right, you have a more heated example where we could get involved, where someone is saying, if someone doesn't call me back today, then I'm going to come there and I'm going to burn down your office. That is a very clear and identifiable threat. That's something that the FBI handles. I want to make it clear, though, that is not the only thing. It doesn't have to say it as explicitly as that, like I mentioned, for us to be involved.
We work directly with state and local partners, so, they have different tools that we don't have at the federal level, that we can get you to the right people.
Exactly. And this is my plug. If you are an election worker, or if you know someone who's an election worker, if you feel threatened, frankly, if you feel threatened ever, but particularly if you are an election worker, please call 911 immediately. Please call the FBI. Go to the FBI, our website to submit a tip. We take this very seriously, and it's something that the FBI, not just locally, but nationally, is very much focused on in today's climate.
Okay, so with that, we'll open it up for questions. Raise your hand. We'll go as we normally do. Jill, you'll go first.
Awesome to hear from you. Thank you for being here. I think the work you do is really important. So one is an ask, do you guys have cards that you could distribute?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the second is, what is the #1 election crime or that comes your way in New York City? And if you have an example.
We really see all three equally. I mean, there's not, New York isn't unique to a specific type of issue. Those three things are prevalent to us. So we're actively working on those. Yes. Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Gotta go, people at the table first. People are on the agenda.
I apologize.
Might be the one time I get to say something that
I think we should finish up around the table and then get the people
Jason, do you
what
have
they
any,
want and then.
Jason,
move
do you have
on.
anything to say?
No, I have nothing to say.
There you
Thank
go.
you. I'm getting very FBI vibe though. I like this.
Anybody else around the table?
Everyone's in
That's fantastic, sir.
Thank
You
you.
must state your name for the record, please.
Of course, my name is Irving Lee, the community activist, small property owner, retired transit worker. Okay, so a couple of questions. Lawfare, which is an expression we have heard that's basically been used to target Trump supporters.
Mhm.
Do you address those issues?
Can you explain law? Are you saying when people?
Utilizing the state powers to prosecute Trump, for example.
Well, I can't talk about any
Specifics?
specifics,
Okay,
but,
with that category, do you address those issues?
I mean, I would say, we address issues that would break federal law, of course, but I don't know if we can speak in specifics about anything that you're,
All right, nothing is specific.
yeah, so you're not gonna get any specific
No.
advice.
You're
not gonna answer.
Specific, but I do have questions about the role of nonprofits. For example, you're a C3, you're restricted in terms of political activity. Do you address those issues?
And certainly if we found out about somebody, an entity that was classified in a certain way, using their funds in a way that they're not allowed to, that's something that we would be interested in.
Oh, okay.
and we have close partnerships with the IRS, and we work with them frequently on this.
And the other question, of course, when you talk about political power, it seems that organizations like APAC seem to have tremendous power in the United States. Are they doing anything illegal?
They're not gonna speak to
You haven't seen anything that's.
He's not gonna speak to it.
You can't talk, like any other law enforcement, they can't talk about ongoing investigations.
Oh, okay.
They can't talk
Existing
about
or the lack
existing or prior, there's a right to privacy in the US, so.
So far, so good.
I remember she was bundling an accusation of people, I guess, taking ballots. So that's not technically illegal, is it?
Well, bundling in terms of donations is not illegal. Where an individual helps other people donate to a certain
I think
candidate.
he's talking about somebody who says, don't worry, I'll collect the ballots and mail them in for you.
Okay, yes,
That's not illegal.
that is, I mean, again, it differs in jurisdiction to jurisdiction.
Don't give your power to anybody.
But yeah, in New York City, I believe you are allowed to provide someone else to bring your ballot to.
Yeah.
Yes, if
you're mobility impaired. So there's nothing inappropriate about that. But again, it differs jurisdiction to jurisdiction, so I can't speak to all of them.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions around the room? Fantastic. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
tonight.
Thank you.
We road tested it, okay.
If you have any feedback, please let us know. We want to improve this and we want to inform the community as best we can. So if you could.
We can take some offline, we'll take some thoughts and comments and send you a follow-up. How's that?
Great.
And you have your card?
Yeah.
You guys have some material to pass around too. Thank you for bringing that.
Oh, nice, thank you.
So, go ahead and leave the material on the table so we can share it widely, and then whatever is not taken, we'll put in the back and share at our full boards. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. I
Thank
suggest you
Thank you.
exit the office. Which is the easiest way. My favorite. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uneventful
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Stay about that.
Enough to go around.
Sure.
There's one.
Awesome. All righty, so don't worry, Jason, we're rolling.
This is the meeting. Everyone wants to roll. Don't make it a Jason thing.
Don't worry. All right, we have MOCJ tonight, which is a report on the detained populations and programs in light of the modified BBJ and MDC plans. And I want to first and foremost say thank you for coming. It's been a long wish to have you come. And We're gonna do this like we do everything else. Introductions, feedback and comments and questions from the table, and then from the public, okay? And take it away, please introduce yourself and welcome.
Lord Mayor, Chief of Staff and Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. Thank you for inviting us here. Thank you, Chair Metzler, for the opportunity to speak about the criminal justice system and jail population more broadly. I think Jay was here from some time ago. It's been a little bit of time, and so I thought it'd be a good time for us to sort of refresh and speak with you guys again and, refresh the relationship a little bit. It's a good opportunity to do that. So thank you for inviting us. So just to talk a little bit about what MOCJ's role is. We are the criminal justice coordinator for the city. We work with across stakeholders to coordinate the criminal justice system and also provide policy proposals and implementation around criminal justice policy in the city. And then also design and implement different public safety measures. So we are within that role. We do also implement initiatives to support public safety and community. So that's through reentry services, through transitional housing and housing initiatives, through supervised release and alternatives to incarceration. We also have a few other, we run pilots around the criminal justice system. And then we also have within our office, the Office to Prevent Hate Crimes and also the Office of Special Enforcement, which does a lot of the city's short-term rental enforcement. So, short-term rental. Yeah. So, I will talk to you a little bit about MOCJ's role as coordinator, particularly as it relates to case processing. So case processing is a large part of the criminal justice system, and that really deals with moving people through the system. Sorry, you can move to the next slide. This is just a little primer on how the city uses the jail system. Oh, sorry, I was on the wrong slide. Apologies. So we'll talk a little bit about jail. Jail, as you know, is detention. New York City's jail system is really a detention system. And then also houses folks who are sentenced to less than a year or less in jail. The jail population has steadily reduced over the years. It hit its bottom during COVID, when there was a big push to decarcerate and to decongregate jails. Since then, the jail population has gone up, particularly as the delays in COVID sort of hung around and the system had to kind of get back to its usual processing, which remains difficult throughout the system. Within MOCJ, we work on that case processing piece. We work with other stakeholders in the justice system. That includes the courts, that's the DAs, and also the defense bar to move cases through the system. A lot of what drives the jail population in New York City is the arraignment to disposition time. But we have seen some of those come down, particularly in felonies, which usually take the longest to move through the system. During, just post-COVID, around 2021, the average felony arraignment to disposition days was about 560. And now it's gone down to around 390, which is still quite high. But all of the stakeholders in the system are really working hard to try to drive down those numbers and really to move cases forward better, which also impacts how the jail population, because it affects who moves through and works to bring down the jail population over time. Chair.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Not yet.
Okay.
You gotta write down your question and wait till the end.
Yes.
So, so the courts are working through their systems to try to improve their systems. The DAs are working on it, and then we also work with the defense bar as well to try to move cases through the system. One way that we do that is through regular reviews of long stayers in the jail system. So we review that with the different court parties and the actors I just mentioned in order to try to unstick those cases to move them through more quickly. As folks improve their systems and their data and their research, a lot of that moves people through will have a big impact over time in order to drive those numbers down. One initiative that the city council passed last year in order to review folks and see if we could try to help review cases in order to see where things might be getting stuck along the way as well. To help with some of that work was the Jail Population Review Initiative, also called the Case Practice Initiative. We worked with the Center for Justice Innovation on that and to review those cases and to try to move things forward. It was just implemented in October, and so it's just been about 5 months. What we're really seeing from that is a lot of the data about who kind of remains in jail and why and what the population looks like. We do intend to take it citywide in FY 25. And so we will be able to have a better look at the system in order to better devise ways to reduce that population. So one way that we look to serve community and make sure that folks who are leaving jail or prison have supports is through city justice programs. One of those are alternatives to incarceration, which are mandated programs, which include services and also accountability measures that are mandated by judges who, these are non-jail options that folks are mandated to. Supervised release happens at arraignment. And we actually have seen a significant increase in the use of supervised release over the past few years as more judges become comfortable using it. And then we also have reentry services that does in custody discharge planning and then in community services for folks who are leaving jail or prison. We also have housing initiatives, including transitional housing. So I will talk a little bit about those items. A lot of these things were sort of started years ago, but we're sort of in 2.0 now. And so one of the biggest challenges with developing new options and new ways to better serve folks who are leaving jail or prison for whichever reason is one of the challenges is closing the gap between public health and public safety. So it's really about serving folks, meeting people where they are and ensuring that people receive the right services for whatever is going on. And a lot of that is around data and using evidence-based measures in order to implement those strategies. So it's a little about reentry services. So these are voluntary. We have 10 providers. They work both in the jails to produce discharge planning. They do provide some transportation from jails to community. They also conduct case management and provide services in community. Services do include employment services, which include transitional, paid transitional employment and job training and readiness, connections to substance use treatment, and also healthcare benefits and also education. We also implement housing initiatives. We have a transitional housing program that has about 850 beds. We work with 4 providers, and it's temporary housing, but with wraparound services and connection to permanent housing. We were able to connect about 230 people last year to permanent housing. In addition to that, we also work with partners on an awareness campaign around permanent housing for people who are formerly incarcerated. Because, you know, we have seen some, there's a stigma around providing permanent housing to people who are formerly incarcerated. And the private housing market is still like a large part of where people should be going when they leave jail or prison if they have, you know, the means to pay for it. And so we worked with partners to do an awareness campaign around folks who have private apartments, including realtors and small landlords to do some awareness around the availability of housing for folks who are formerly incarcerated. So in order to make sure that people really reintegrate back into the community and are not left hanging when they leave. So for the pretrial population, there is supervised release. It's court mandated, obviously. It also provides voluntary services. It's intended to promote return to court, to ensure the defendants return to court. And it has about, for return to court, around 80% of folks do return to court and remain in compliance on supervised release. And overall, 70% of folks are not rearrested on supervised release, and very few are rearrested on serious crimes. It's increased every year since 2019, and we do anticipate that it will likely increase this year as well. Moving to the post-disposition area, we have alternatives to incarceration, which are services that are mandated by the court instead of jail or prison. You do receive supported services. I talked about it a little bit earlier. We have a wide range of programs available for people. And total of 24, we have 14 providers, and they served about 6,500 people in 2022. Programs usually last around 1 to 6 months and can be up to 2 years for felonies. We've got about an 80% completion rate for ATI programs. So those are the main things that we do around, specifically around the criminal justice system and moving people through the criminal justice system, and then also providing services for folks who are leaving the justice system or who are mandated to certain programming. We really are committed to working with community around public safety issues. It really is a mission of our office to co-create public safety with local communities, and we're always looking for ways to have conversations around that and to talk about how we all can save. Welcome any questions. Yes, the fun.
Okay. Justine?
Sorry. So at the beginning or earlier on, you talked about the time from arraignment to disposition being 390 days. Arraignment is when they're charged, but not yet, that's when they either plead guilty or say, I'm not guilty, right? And so they're not actually found, there's been no adjudication of guilt yet, right?
Correct, yes.
And so they're in jail for over a year possibly until they actually have their trial, because disposition is the trial or sentencing.
Yes, the disposition is it can be either way, it's the end.
The end.
So sometimes people can be in jail for over a year. They can be.
And then they could have been found not guilty and sorry.
That can happen. That is correct.
That was one question. Can I ask one more?
Yeah.
You talked about publishing, who remains in jail and why. There was some initiative that you were doing, and it was looking good for 5 months from October to now. Will you publish those, results? Because right now you're saying they're looking good, but can we figure out and get some written information and ideas of what that is?
Sure. I'd say it's providing good information so that we're able to better see what needs to happen throughout the system in order to move folks through to disposition more quickly.
That's perfect. Thank you. I may have more, but
But yes,
Okay.
we will.
Yeah.
we're happy to-
Jared and then Rosa.
On the chart that you showed in the presentation, I noticed that the number of people who were currently incarcerated for technical violations of parole was drastically lower than it had been years prior. What's that about? And also, it's so much lower than people who are in jail at the moment for misdemeanors.
Right, so
What's
the state passed a law called Less is More, which reduced the number of folks who would automatically, who would wait in jail on a technical parole violation.
Got it.
what does that mean, a technical parole violation?
That is a parole violation, that's when you violated parole. If you have conditions of parole and you violated one of those conditions, but haven't necessarily committed a crime.
Okay, Rosa?
Following up on Justine's question, so do we have a sense of the percentage of people that are in jail for that long and then are found not guilty?
I don't have that specific statistic, but I can get you, I can look to see if we have that over time.
Do we have a vague approximation?
I don't have that, no, not of people who were found not guilty, I do not have that.
Okay, and then, sorry, follow-up question is, so many, I know that you offer these wraparound support services at the end. Have we considered, let's say, what is the percentage of people who would have required the support systems before that would have kept them out of jail in the first place?
No, that is a very good question. It's definitely something that is something that we, as a city should, are continuing to look at. I know that mental health is a really, it's a very serious thing. And not even just mental health, but just being able to, sort of stay out of trouble is a serious thing. And so I know that we are looking at ways, particularly as it relates to youth, to, reduce the likelihood that they will enter the criminal justice system. And there are also interventions that are happening where, not like before someone would necessarily be incarcerated.
Right.
But maybe they're having like increasing touches with the law. We do have programs that seek to stop that cycle. So one such program for youth is called Atlas. And it's fairly small, but we have seen a lot of success with it.
Because it seems like it would be a great investment.
Absolutely. The
minimize
city also has other types of programs like DYCD runs programs, youth-based programs, and then also you have your violence interrupted programs as well.
Mimi, thank you.
So for the people that were held for however long and then found not guilty, do they have access to the same these services that you?
Yes, there are some, yes, people do have access to in-custody services and then also a certain number of services before people go into jail, before people, if they are adjudicated guilty. Is that what you mean? Sorry.
Well, if
Sorry.
they're not guilty, do they get access to all the same programs, or are they just
Oh, yes, sure.
Oh, okay.
Anybody who's,
Yeah.
yes.
anyone that's been?
Yes, anybody who's been incarcerated, absolutely.
Okay, and what else happens to them? Do they just like lose that time if they're not guilty?
That is, that is.
Can they get the job back or anything? Like, do we?
Well, through reentry services, they could find paid transitional employment, but, there are, a lot of collateral consequences to that kind of incarceration.
And it like costs money to be in jail, right?
It does.
So does that get reimbursed? What happened?
When someone
It just seems sad,
Yeah,
about that.
it's a tough situation for sure.
Francis and then me.
Does Fortune Society have any role in this?
They do. Fortune Society is one of our providers for reentry services. They provide transitional housing and then also ATI as well.
So what as well?
Oh, and they're a supervised release provider. So they're sort of like a crosser spectrum. One of our-
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, it's me, I'm not hearing, excuse me.
No. I was just saying that they're one of our providers sort of across the spectrum.
So I have a question and I have a couple of questions. One about supervised release. So is supervised release done before they get to Rikers or as part of the process? Where is supervised release in the pipeline?
So it can happen sort of along the pipeline. So it can happen when someone can be mandated supervised release. At arraignment, they could be mandated to supervised release once after they're in custody. It sort of happens anytime before the final disposition. It could happen. Someone could be mandated to supervised release.
And if they're having supervised release coming out of Rikers, how do they leave Rikers and get there? Are they on their own to find the location that they get to supervised release? Or are they provided transit to that location?
So our reentry providers do provide a certain amount of transportation. But usually that would happen if somebody has a court date. So they usually be going to the court and then would be released to supervised release from the court.
Of course, I'm asking because we have the borough-based jail system coming. And so the question is, how are they getting from the detention center to the courthouse? We understand that. And then the back and forth, are they just given an address and said, here's your supervised release, please show up at this location?
So when someone is mandated, the supervised release providers are in the court. And then, people do usually then have to go to another location after they're assessed into the program.
And then currently the jail population is over 6,000. Current plan for the detention centers for the 4 boroughs is at 4,100. And we are of a 3-year to 5-year clock. So what services are being augmented or what changes are being implemented to get back down to the just before COVID levels, which were the lowest?
So as I was speaking about before, that arraignment to disposition time is a big driver of the jail population number. And all of our stakeholders are really committed to getting those numbers down and also to finding appropriate options for people that are not jailed. And we are as well. And we're continuing to look at it, and we continue to look at priority populations in order to serve those needs.
So my follow-up to that is there's a large number, according to the comptroller's report, of people who have mental health issues that are associated with that. And while we're looking to reduce the population to be able to fit into the new BBJ model, what is the plan and what programs are available and for that population, which by all means should not be released back out onto the streets necessarily?
So it is definitely true that we do not have appropriate services for everyone who is, who would need specific services. So we are consistently looking for ways to meet those needs. And that really does require us to examine all the evidence and all the data, including individual cases, so that we are able to do that. And that is something that we are committed to doing.
Alice Blank online, who has not gone yet. Alice, you can go ahead and unmute.
Thanks very much. A few questions. I just finished reading a fantastic, which I recommend to everyone, a fantastic piece in Vital City. I assume you're aware of this piece that Elizabeth Glazer, the former head of MOCJ, writes about the brief history of how they arrived at the 3,300 target numbers and calls it pick a number, any number, which I thought was humorous. In any case, in it, she reveals a lot. But, you know, one of the things that becomes clear is that obviously, you know, things didn't work out the way they had hoped for various reasons. And I'm just curious, you know, what is MOCJ's sense of what happens with the overflow? In other words, this desire to come back down to 3,300, the target number, it could very well be utopian and never happen again. So is the idea that Rikers might likely in part stay open? What will happen with the overflow? And of course, this concerns all the boroughs, but what's the game plan?
So the city's committed to, exploring and ensuring that public safety is the number one priority. So if there are places that we need for people to go, you have to explore all of our options in order to preserve public safety and ensure that both the jails and our communities are safe.
But I'm just saying that if you have these jails can't take more than 3,000 to 4,000 people, and you may not get lucky and get these numbers down in the next few years below the 6,000 or 7,000, I thought it was today. What is there? What's the understanding at MOCJ for the overflow? It's still very unclear to me. When you say you're looking at systems to be safe, it's 10 years since the plans began, right? That started in 2014. So there's a lot of time in having assessed a lot of different models and statistics and reviews. Is there any attention being paid to precisely how this happens in terms of where people go? I mean, is MOCJ looking again at Staten Island as in the original plan? Are they looking at state facilities? You can't create out of the air space in places where there is none. So I'm just still a little mystified, and you may not know the answer. I'm just curious.
It is definitely something we continue to look at. We have to work with all of our partners in order to do that. And it is something that we continue to do. The mayor has made clear that safety is the number one priority, both for the jails and community. I don't have anything more to share on it right now, but if we do have more, we definitely will share it with the community.
And then my other question is, I know that the Littman Commission has started up again. This board had asked that boards and communities have a seat on the Littman Commission. Alas, that did not yet happen. But I'm curious, could you just describe what the relationship is with MOCJ and the Littman Commission? Or does MOCJ have a seat on the commission? And what is this commission doing differently than the first one did?
So I'm not an expert on the Whitman Commission, but we do work very, we're committed to working closely with them in order to develop options and to make sure that, that things move forward as they need to.
And is there any description you can give of what's changed since the first commission from 10 years ago in terms of its focus or results?
I cannot give a specific, I don't think that I'm clear on there's being a specific difference, other than the fact that when the first Whitman Commission began, there was no, no plan, things did not move forward to where they are, and a lot of things have moved forward now. And so I think that the commission really has to kind of pick up from where we are currently, post-pandemic and post everything else that's happened since then.
Okay, thank you. I hope that we get more comprehensive answers the next time, but I really appreciate the time. Thanks. Thanks.
We're gonna do Eric and then Jared and then Justine. Eric?
So I support these alternatives to
Oh, and
incarceration.
Vera, sorry, Vera goes after Eric.
But are repeat offenders eligible for this program?
So it depends. So the things that are mandated by judges. So they look at it through, they get a recommendation from the defense attorney, from the DAs, with their recommendation, and then they will mandate people. Are people who are in programs, are they sometimes, or, there are folks who do have a persistent pattern of recidivating. And that is something also, they're a priority population that we continue to look at as well. So they are mandated to look at programs or any programs available by judges.
We're gonna go to Vera online. Keep in mind, if you're a board member who's spoken first, you go after anybody who has. Vera?
Hi, okay, let me get on. I have a question. So can you tell me what is the biggest cause of the delay from arraignment to disposition?
So there are just a lot of different actors within the system that have their own part to play. And so everyone is very much looking at their individual role. And we look at the system across as a whole to try to move those cases forward. One is, more complicated cases do take longer. And so that is at least one piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so, but specifically, does it have to do with getting over from Rikers to the courthouse? And then from the court, again, once they get to the courthouse for their case to be heard? I mean, are there issues like that are going on?
So DSC has done a lot of work around production, and they're doing very well with it at this time. So we haven't seen that production being a major driver at this time.
Production as in producing people to show up in
Producing
court.
someone to show up in court, sorry.
That's okay.
Vera, you have more?
I just was curious if you knew how that production was before people had to move out of the jails that we have here. As you know, we hosted about 900 some beds here. And then in conjunction with the borough-based plan, all of these poor detainees had to go over to Rikers, and then now they have to wait for their trial. So I was wondering the comparison of time before and then now when the borough-based jail plan is being implemented. Perhaps that was not well thought out in a sense. If you have any comparisons, do you have any knowledge about that?
I don't think I have a specific comparison as to, when the extension center was closed versus now, what the production looks like now. I can see if we do have that information, but we definitely do not have it, immediately.
That'd be interesting for us, because it would, much to Vera's point, if we move 900 people from here to there, right, and that's the number, you're around a little over 2,000 people over what you're supposed to be able to handle over there right now, right? It's supposed to be the borough-based jails are based on the ultimate goal. So then the question is, did, I guess, the Littman Commission consider the 900 people who were here when they were looking at the numbers and Rikers?
Mm-hmm.
Because and also much to what you've said is there needs to be a better, more formalized plan for mental health services and what that happens. Maybe there needs to be another facility that's built specifically with mental health services as a primary driver as part of the criminal justice system. Because if you can't get the people healthy enough to go to court and their recidivism, can't say that word. very well.
Recidivism.
Recidivism is higher and and the path is harder, then maybe they need to be in a place that provides more services in a dedicated manner than the regular. I don't want to tag anyone specific, but you want to put them in a service-rich environment.
There will be service-rich environments within the jails, and then we're also looking at, and we also will have therapeutic beds outside as well. So, but that is something we should, thank you for suggesting it. It is a serious issue and definitely something that we're continuing to look at and we want to make sure we solve for.
Okay, Jared, Justine, and then we have 4 minutes or the next.
Question. So I understand the reasons why you would want to reduce the number of the population in our city jails. And at the same time, I understand the reason for, bail reform, which is, definitely needed. And I firmly believe that somebody who can't afford bail should not be automatically thrown into jail. I believe all those things. But my question is, there's a sentiment, whether it's real or perceived, that I hear in my daily travels, that effectively New York has a billion laws, and there's this feeling that there are only a handful that are being enforced at the moment, in part because there's not, so many of these deterrents don't really exist anymore. How do we reconcile these things? And maybe it's sort of too open-ended of a question, but they're slightly at odds with each other.
Definitely a big question. I think that, number one, the most important thing is public safety and also how people feel and quality of life, like how are people actually living? And so we are looking to meet the needs of people who are in the system in order to improve quality of life for everyone. Because as we know, this is, those kinds of issues can be a main driver, not only of crime, but also of how safe people feel. And so the idea is to try to solve the problem rather than try to put a Band-Aid on it or sort of like, ignore it.
Because I think again, not to speak too broadly, but I think that the feeling is with some of our more minor crimes, that there's not, I don't want to say that they're not pursued, but it's sort of a fruitless pursuit because what is it? What's the return? What's the eventual effect of it?
Perception is that they just get arrested and let out, right?
Yeah, well, when the cops were here and we were talking about the repetitive shoplifting, for example, I asked the question, I saw it happening, and I truthfully didn't think to even call, because you're gonna call 911 about this? I didn't know what to do.
No,
That's sort of a strange
those
feeling.
kinds of things are a serious issue. You definitely should report. But there's something that we have to work with our retail partners on and also across the city to look for ways to.
I'm just using that as an example.
No, I understand it, but it's a serious example. And it's one that the mayor has been very focused on. Our deputy mayor has as well. We have the retail theft task force, and we are working with retail partners and bids and folks to try to really improve safety broadly, but also to improve the retail theft situation.
Nancy?
Can I ask questions?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Tammy. This is actually along the lines of what Tammy is asking about in terms of the time. I remember a couple of years ago, it might have been pre-COVID, there was a huge backlog in having judges and making sure that the mayor was hiring them. I didn't see that was one of the items that were addressed, unless I missed it, if you could address that. And the second thing is so critical to the success of the Borough Village jails, even though it's a completely flawed plan right now, but it addresses the immediate issues with Rikers about, my question is related to the training and how we're changing the culture. That was significant as part of the change management for the borough-based jails. So my question,
So
Thank
I'm
you.
saying that PUC has implemented a lot of changes over the past couple of years. I can't speak to them directly. That's really more of a, corrections question. But it is something that we're definitely looking into as a part of the entire borough-based conversation. And also unfortunately can't speak to the specificity around the judge's question, but I can find out for you.
I think I'm gonna tag to where Nancy was going on that, just for one, I'll be with you first in a second. We'd love for you to come back with some of these answers that we're looking for to understand. As we are one of the locations, we are the board and CB3 right behind us, who will be dealing with it, because one of the, strange questions that we wonder is you're in one building, one complex right now, you're gonna be spreading onto 4, along with the programming that you have to change the culture of the, it's a mega jail, let's just call it what it is. In Lower Manhattan, it will be a mega jail. It will be the tallest building, but if there are 4 partner companies that you have that are currently on site at Rikers that work with some of the jail population, are they going to be dividing their staff, or are they going to be staffing up to accommodate the differences in Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and us, to be able to have staff at every one 5 days a week, not having staff from the 4 partner services? One Monday they're in Manhattan, on Tuesday they're like, how intensive is the scaling up of the services being planned and executed for when you divide?
So just to be a little, bring a little more clarity. So Rikers, it's a complex, but they're all individual buildings. And so the providers are assigned to different buildings already. So it may require, it may require a different sort of staffing plan, and also may require additional services. The buildings are designed to better provide services and customer services. And so that is definitely something we're looking at. But in terms of like specifically how much staff would be in each one, that's something that we'll kind of have to look at as we move forward.
Sir, you had your hand up, you have not spoken.
Yes, permanently. Despite all attempts to lower the inmate population with the debt reform, we still have 6,000 Rikers Island. And I know you mentioned, what's the cutoff point, 3,300 or it's closed Rikers and around 4,000 now? Has the number been raised as a consequence of what's been happening?
Yes.
The larger tower?
Different projections, yes.
Different projections. But even with 4,000, it's still just over 2,000 more. And has the mayor considered the idea, even though I know the city council voted to close Rikers by 2027, but has the mayor considered plans to rebuild Rikers, to renovate Rikers? I guess the most well-known plan is Bill Bialowski's plan, if anyone knows about Bill Bialowski's plan. And that, is the mayor considering that as a possibility, as an option?
It's always been to follow the law, and I'm not familiar with that plan.
Oh, you're not? Okay. All right.
They went from 886 to 1040 per location.
Location.
So, yeah, there was a planned increase of just under 600.
Yeah.
Although I have to do the math again, I'm not really great.
Does that, as a consequence of raising the number of beds, does that increase the size of the building? Because it's my understanding that Margaret Cheng, there's rumor, had agreed that, as was an agreement that it'll get no more than 30 stories. It's all
It doesn't
rumor,
really
huh?
decide. It doesn't really decide.
Nothing of,
Actually,
agreement that was made.
It was by,
Yeah, hey, everyone.
it's by Euler.
My name is Q. I'm the
Okay.
executive director of Cal Projects, work with Nora at Mayor's office.
So that's what I was like.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
The buildings are, the capacity and the size and the height of the building is set by ULURP approval. So the increase that Tammy just referenced was within the range that was approved within ULURP. We have approval up to 4,400 per facility. I'm sorry, not per facility, total capacity. And right now, all 4 of them are approved up to 4,400 beds. but within the
Sure.
boundaries of the building structure. We cannot add any space or any stories, any floor, any square footage.
That was the range. I thought you only went to 1040. You didn't go to 1100 full.
Right, we're approved per facility to go up 1140, but it's right now not 1100, it's not 1100.
You're at 1040.
Purposes, yeah.
So what's the
Each one
projection?
or
in terms of-
One.
What's the projection in terms of the height of the building?
There's no projection, whatever the heights are right now that are being considered, they're part of the design, that's.
Part of the issue and concern is that what the city actually promised the community was there was one thing that the ULURP said was a max that they'd never reach. And there was we feel we'll be at X level.
Right.
Right, and that's what the community was hanging hats on, because again, jail population going down, now we're going up
Right.
within the range of ULURP. So what we're trying to understand is, every time you increase the bed count, are you also then increasing the height of the building?
We cannot, by law, by ULURP, we can't.
No, no. I'm not saying above the ULURP. I'm talking between what the mayor's office at the time said was the suggested and recommended that they talked about with Margaret Chin and the community. This is our estimate. Don't worry, this is what the ULURP max says over here, but we're not gonna be there. We're gonna be much lower.
But that's what I'm saying, the buildings are already at the ULURP max. They're not.
You're not
lower than the
listening.
ULURP max. I'm sorry if I'm not.
He's saying that they were told that the buildings would be shorter than the ULURP max.
Correct.
They're now at the ULURP max. That's what she's saying.
Right.
You're telling me that you're building to the ULURP max. Is that what you're saying?
What, yes, that's what the ULURP max
Yes,
is.
that's what they're saying.
So can I have maybe a stupid follow-up to that? So the previous facility had 900 beds, give or take,
Yes.
right? And so they're talking about having 1,050, so 150 more. How do you get that delta between what was there and a 40-story jail?
And a megaton?
Like, what, I mean, I mean, it's a huge difference. What was that building? 15 stories? A dozen?
No, but they're knocking two buildings down. So
No,
now
I
they're-
understand, but.
So they're taking the walkway of the additional, that was outside space.
Well, no, I understand that, but you're still talking about
We're creating-
upwardsly.
They're creating a much larger facility.
It's not gonna be 1,050.
They're creating a significantly larger facility, and this is actually the first time, and thank you for telling us that you're building to the ULURP max, which does nothing but put my head in a vice, because we were told that, don't worry, we'll never get to really that max, that's the max, worst case scenario, and now we're at worst case scenario, so that's not encouraging. And the answer was there wasn't enough programming and facilities
Within.
So what they need to do is replicate to have better medical and more programming and job
You're
retention.
talking about a full additional skyscraper, basically.
Yes.
But
Yes,
just to clarify, the design I'm sorry, I misspoke. Brooklyn is the only one that's under design right now, and it has not been finalized yet, and the other three facilities haven't even selected the design team yet.
Oh, we know.
We know, yeah.
And you're already billions over.
But to the specific point of ULURP allowed heights, I'm just saying that's the max we can go. If we have to, we cannot go any further beyond what.
We understand.
We
that.
understand.
You're saying you're already there. What,
So you have to be there, yeah.
We are
So
not
of course,
already
yeah.
there because design hasn't started yet.
Right.
We don't have a design team to determine if we're there or not.
Right, remember, that's the whole.
So
true.
I
Yes.
I have a simple math question, and excuse me, but I'm tired, so maybe I'm not understanding this correctly, but so if there's 6,000 people in jail and you have maximum capacity of holding 4,400, then where's the 1,600 other people going?
So the conversation, that's sort of what we were talking about before, which is that the population is driven largely by so it's a detention center. So people leave, they either go upstate because that's their disposition, or they are ROR'd, or, released to the community, or they may fail. But a lot of what drives the jail population is that time that it takes for a case to get from arraignment to disposition.
Is that 1,600 people worth that are in that particular
If you
boat?
have the appropriate options, potentially, yes. That is what we're
But
working
what
on.
if you don't?
Well, that's the conversation.
Alice has a second hand up and then time, so unless it's something that's absolutely wait for.
I just want to make sure that whenever you summarize all this, I hear a little bit of repetition for obvious needs of information that sounds like it's sort of being promised, but it is many years we've been asking for it. And clearly one of the critical questions is you have ULURP, you have a cap, you cannot make these institutions more dense because clearly that caused many of the problems we see today. So given that, how and where are other folks going? And there is no magic bullet to assume that forever there will be a reduced jail population. I think the communities that are involved in the city of New York needs that answer. And so there must be some way to provide that. And all of the other questions that have come up, Tammy, we can identify them and list them, but I'm just hoping that somehow we have a follow-up here sooner than later with answers. That's it. Thanks.
Andrea Jew has not spoken yet. She'll be the last call. And then, no, you've spoken once
On jail?
Okay, then
No, never.
Andrea and then Jill, and then we're wrapping because it's 7:10 and we have another fantastic topic tonight.
I mean, just real
Okay.
quick. I mean,
Yep.
it seems that like the biggest holdup is, the processing, getting the people through the court system. Why don't you just build a bigger court system? Make the jail smaller, make a bigger court system, hire more lawyers, get people through the system faster so they're not in this limbo and we're not stuck with this,
Makes sense.
So instead of spending money on incarcerating people, unnecessarily, why don't we just process them, the way they should be instead of just hanging, just ROR, a danger to themselves or others, maybe they're not being, monitored closely enough. If we can just get them through the system, just build a bigger courthouse, hire more lawyers instead of industrial, incarceration.
I promise all of our partners are continuing to work within their systems and work within the means that they have in order to address that problem. And everybody is really working hard on that.
Jill's gonna be the last on this topic, and I wanna say thank you to Nora for coming. This is the beginning of our conversation. MOCJ has come graciously. We know it's not the easiest path. We have 3 years of partnership at a base to 5 till our facility is built. 5 most likely. So we're hoping to have a dialogue that goes on and on and on. And I think in quality of life, looking at the mental health facilities, mental health capacities, and having other departmental conversations would be a really helpful thing as we go forward. Jill, you're the last call.
Very quickly for the gentleman. I understand that the design has not been, we haven't hired the people yet, but certainly there's a brief. Instructions on what they're looking for.
There's an
Like a
RFP.
white paper.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not an RFP, a brief that would be going, it could be
Yes.
part of
We have
that.
design guidelines.
And,
Yeah,
and we have those.
yep.
Great.
Those are public.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
Thank you, everybody, for participating on this topic, and hopefully Nora and the team will come back another day and have another conversation with them.
Thank you, guys.
Is that a card? This is a card?
And Daniel at mltj.nyc.gov. And Daniel?
I could put it on.
Sure.
All right. All right, so next topic is the Chinatown Connections. We've got a presentation. Don't see Gigi.
No Gigi.
No Gigi, who's leaving?
Gigi is leading, so we just
But I think
should be here shortly.
17, so.
And I am crazily on.
Just leave it.
Right on time.
That's just not on.
She said she was coming in person.
Yeah.
Wanna take some stuff?
All right, so what we'll do is we'll do some flip up stuff for internal
Yep.
and then just wait for everybody to come. So,
Okay.
well, before we do committee reports, an announcement. We have a new parliamentarian, which is awesome to share the role with Patrick. Thank you, Eric, for volunteering.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Oh,
Thankless task, but
yes,
thank you.
thank you.
So, we now have 2 parliamentarians for the board, which is what we have always had. And we will train a third parliamentarian because as we do board appointments and we have people who will be term limited, we need to ensure that we always have somebody who we can turn to on the rabbit wheel of parliamentarianism. With that, Lucy is out on Monday, so if you would like any slides shown for the PowerPoint presentation that goes up at the full board, you need to have them in by tomorrow. Anybody who has slides for any committee, you need to have them to the office tomorrow. Please do not be emailing on Tuesday saying, hey, I'd like to add this slide, because the answer will be no. And I don't like saying no, but it's gonna be a hard no. We are setting up downstairs on the mezzanine level again, so not a lot of time, not a lot of hands, and not a lot of patience being downstairs, okay? Also, if you did a resolution and your meeting was any day last week or the week prior, that needs to be in by tomorrow. Only committees who had a meeting this week.
What if you sent it in tonight as we were having this meeting? We're exempt from that?
You're in great shape. Thank you,
Okay.
Jason. And you know what? He's like Jason. He had he's in even before Friday. That's awesome. So those are the other things. We're gonna really try and keep that as a tight thing. If your meeting is the week before full board, we get that. You'll have to have it in by Monday morning. But everybody else, your resolutions have to be to the office for distribution by Monday. Any questions on any of those things?
I'm fine.
All righty, awesome. So I appreciate that. I'll do a board report from this morning from Borough Board for those who didn't make it. It was really, really interesting. Second Avenue is getting an offset bus lane. And that'll be open 24/7 and a double-sized bike lane, which was really interesting to hear. It's one of the most crowded all the way uptown by CB6, but that's new news and good news for them. We had a large discussion on open meeting laws and being virtual or non. It was really interesting how many boards, there are boards that are all in person, no virtual. There are boards that want it all virtual, not in person. So, and of course, we all talked about funding for hybrid as needed. A couple of our fellow board members are struggling with cannabis licenses, not surprising, and have identified specific daylighting corners with addresses that they'd like, which I thought was great. There were conversations about a hate crime public meeting that CB8 is putting out. She'll send the flyer and I'll share it with everyone. There are some really interesting complexities around the 59th Street Bridge. There is one entrance to the 59th Street Bridge that you will get nailed for congestion pricing and one entrance you will not. So they are.
Do share.
They are attempting to figure out ways to mitigate that, to make sure that if you come around the one, if you're trying to enter onto the bridge, you get a credit for somehow. But, right, that's all I'm gonna say on that one. CB10 is extraordinarily concerned about congestion pricing and the push up in there for the asthma and the health impacts. There was a large conversation about that. Second Avenue subway is moving along down by CB11, which is nice. They had a discussion about the saturation and problems that they have with the drug rehab facilities that are in their neighborhood, and looking for improved parks and naming of parks. CB12 was decrying the fact that they have an abolitionist house, one of the last, well documented, that the Underground Railroad went to it, and it keeps failing at LPC. LPC will not, and they think that there is an issue that communities of color and lower income are not getting the same responsiveness from LPC as other communities. I, of course, can't say anything on that because where we are. Okay. Links NYC has new designs that are supposedly coming out. Nobody seems to really know what's going on with the current ones. That was another conversation from CB12. And they're very concerned because the COVID funding for schools expires soon. So we actually are gonna ask our youth and ed team to take a look and see how that could affect the schools in CB1. Because there is a documentation that the Borough President's Office hopefully will send us the link to find that out. CB2 formed an outdoor dining working group because their anticipation, based on they have the largest number of outdoor dining now. They formed a working group to be able to deal with it because their anticipation is they will be overrun. There are several different boards who spoke about not exactly knowing what to do when they came to licensing because there was a restaurateur who built a full sidewalk extension during COVID and is not legal. And they're saying one thing and DOT is saying another thing. So the board is a little confused. The board and district managers have a training that's coming up next week. Remember what day? Kate?
The 26th, and we're having a second section on April 2nd, I believe, or the 3rd.
So I would like to encourage every board member, public and full, to attend this session. And I actually think members of the public should attend because people need to understand what the rules are. It's the 26th and then April 2nd, right? You just, you have to educate yourself. It's not fair to let somebody else know all the rules because it just doesn't work well when we're having conversations at the full board. So that would be my recommendation on things like that. We will not be doing a working group for outdoor dining, much like we couldn't get a working group together for cannabis. We have people who are experts at the table. We just need to expand the expertise. Does everybody understand what I mean by that? So if you are willing to attend those outdoor dining, do you need to go make a call?
No, I just forgot something.
Sorry. If you're gonna attend the outdoor dinings and help do the expertise for licensing and DOT, that would be great. All right, and that ends my chair update.
But I have a question, Tammy. It's Alice. Did our Manhattan Borough President address at all the elephant in the room at CB5 and the resigning of the chair and the land use chair and all of that and the open New York stuff? Did that come up at all?
The borough president spoke about the FAR cap flip.
But he didn't
That was his
do that. Uh-huh.
That was his primary topic, so I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Yep, thank you.
CBS.
Hey, DG. Hi. We're doing just committee reports around the table, so while you get settled and when you're ready, come on up.
I'm ready. You guys have the PowerPoint, right?
Yep.
All right.
I didn't realize, you're so well attended. I only have 15 printed copies.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I know you guys get emailed, but some of you got emailed.
And we can share it digitally.
Yeah,
so no worries. All right, so we'll do committee reports and determine order for the full board after we do this. All the earlier movie tickets. Whatever.
It's funny, I was just looking for those notes too.
Pass it down.
Did you look at one of your own?
I have to look at your screen, or should I?
You're gonna have that.
Usually we keep, and then when you flip, we flip.
Got it. Very significant.
Would you like
All
one?
right.
Yes.
You have some extra left behind you
You
too.
like one? Yeah, that's good. We got a lot. That one came apart. Okay, but that's okay.
But look in front of you, but go ahead, thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna introduce, many people know our fabulous Gigi. Gigi has already roadshowed this twice, I will say, in her team, so be robust, be courteous, and let's get through the presentation first, and then we'll do as we have done everything else, people at the table first, people around the room, people online. If you have something to say and you think about it secondly, everybody who hasn't spoken goes first, and then we go back for doubles. Okay?
Great. Well, good evening. Thank you for having the Chinatown Connections team here today to present to the CB1 Exec Committee. I'll just go right into the deck. Our agenda today, we're just going to go through the official announcement. project goals, funding, what agency is responsible for what, and then DOT will take over and do project overview. And we'll also talk about some of the engagement strategy, timeline, and then also just some of our thinking and research on nearby projects that we know will also impact Chinatown and the surrounding area at the same time. And I would just say I've been joined here today by Karen from DOT, as well as Jessica from Parks, and also Kate from DOT, who I think you guys all are probably very familiar with.
Yeah, I say I'm sorry to Kate every day.
Okay. I say the same thing to Ed almost every day. All right, so on February 9th, the mayor, as well as the Secretary of State, the DOT commissioner, and overlapping electeds and some key stakeholders were in Kinlow Square to officially announce the city-state collaboration that we are now calling Chinatown Connections. And the goal of Chinatown Connections is to bolster the local economy, think about how we can strengthen identity and culture, as well as thinking about quality of life with expanded pedestrian plaza space. And then I think sort of like the big sort of secret sauce that we're trying to make happen here is really to think about all of the connections in and around Kinlow Square that radiate out, further north, south, east, west. And I think the one thing we can all agree on, which is very hard in this part of town, is the existing conditions really don't work for anyone. And by anyone, I mean pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicles, all of the above. So how did this, how much money are we talking about, and how did this come to be? So several years ago, just at the sort of start, just before COVID, the governor launched a downtown revitalization initiative project for Chinatown. Every year, the governor picks a community to award $10 million to as a way to really, the name sort of speaks for itself, revitalize a downtown area. And so a local, along with the downstate, the elected official that partners most closely with them is the borough president. So it was then Gail Brewer, and the governor formed a local planning committee. And together, they pitch ideas and decide on how to spend the 10 million. Because of COVID and that sort of 1 year of time, it wasn't awarded. And so because of the immense impact that COVID had on Chinatown, the decision was made to put 2 years amount of funding together and award it to Chinatown. So Chinatown got $20 million of state money that was awarded to 11 different projects. And today we're going to focus on 3 of those projects, which total just over half of the award, a total of 11.5 million. So what you'll see is on the slide is the project scope for 1, renovating Kinlow Square for 5 million, beautifying the Park Road connection to Chinatown for 4 million, and creating a Chinatown Welcome Gateway for 2.5 million. And while we were very excited to get this investment, as we started looking at the real amount of work that was needed in this area, and really what the area deserved, the city came to the conclusion, speaking to both EDC, DOT, and Parks, that while this money was a great start, it wasn't enough. And so what we did was we found an additional 44.3 million in city capital to add to the state funding. So this project is majority city funded for a total of a $55 million project. The renovating Kinlow Square, 5 million, and the creating Chinatown Welcome Gateway is, we're kind of put into the same pot. And then the $4 million for Park Road connection, DOT will speak to more specifically later. That is kind of on a separate track, but the money's still, the purpose of the money is the same, but it's just on a slightly different process. I'll say. And so we'll talk a little bit more about each of these three, but essentially it is all to think of like one large project with three different components, right? So, why is EDC here and what are we doing? So, EDC is the lead agency. I think many of you have been around much longer than I have and know that EDC does often take on large capital projects to project manage. So that is our role. We are going to project manage. Certainly, I just explained before that the Department of State has a role here because their money has different requirements. And so we're going to manage that internally. And our partner agencies, with the Gateway, we will be going through the Percent for Art program, so the DCLA, and of course, Kim Lau Square itself is parkland, so Parks is involved, and DOT. We also will be engaging a consultant team to assist on engagement planning and design. These will be consultants that are retained and managed by EDC. As part of the scope of project management, but is paid for separately, so not out of those funds. It's actually being split 50-50 by DOT and EDC with our own agency's expense dollars. So that's
the 55 million?
Yes. Okay. Do you want to do? Yeah, she'll take over for project overview.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give project overview of the first two projects, and then I'll hand it back to BG and she'll talk about Gateway and finish the. So we can go to the project overview slide, project history slide. So this referencing also what you spoke about the DRI process. This is really a timeline looking at since the Park Row closure and the planning efforts around Park Row and Kim Lau Square, bringing us to February 2024 when the public announcement was made for the public realm improvements of the combined city and state funds. And then going to the next slide. So looking kind of zooming out a little bit and looking at the neighborhood context and strategy, as you're all aware, Park Row is within a security zone, and adjacent to Park Row is Kim Lau Square. There is when you enter or exit, so going to or from Chinatown, you're met with a confusing, dangerous intersection. That's really the existing circulation pattern for pedestrians, bikes, and vehicles. So we are proposing on a conceptual level, high level, really to kind of clarify these intersections that are the circulation for pedestrians, bikes, and transit, which you can see here in the second diagram. And we see that by improving circulation, this will be the links to Manhattan neighborhoods and really working to clarify and strengthen the connection between Lower Manhattan and Chinatown. So jumping to Kim Lau Square. And where.
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
Yeah, it's louder, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So jumping to Kim Lau Square today, the crossings are long, they're not comfortable, there's lots of traffic, it takes time to get across the street. The actual square itself is constrained, there aren't great views, it's crowded, there's not a lot of public space for gathering. And then bikes cut through Kim Lau Square, presenting like dangerous conditions for pedestrians and also for cyclists. So as part of the renovation of Kim Lau Square, DOT and EDC are initiating a traffic study to get data about traffic patterns and look at 3 scenarios to study. So those are the traffic study will model looking at Kim Lau Square improvements, looking at the scenario of only Park Row reopening, and then also looking at a scenario where there are Kim Lau Square improvements and the reopening of Park Row.
Do you know when that'll be?
Sometime this summer.
It's different than what you told us.
So yeah, this study, I mean, it's like we're in the process of onboarding consultants, so like the actual data, the collection of data will happen in the summer.
So when we had the stakeholders meeting, the collection of data was scheduled to be completed by June, which we had pushed back on. This now says summer 2024. Has there been a time change on that?
I can't speak to like if summer, like June is summer, July is summer, but we will be collecting data during that time.
We had to ask for it to be
Okay.
started post congestion pricing.
Yeah, I didn't, author the original scope, so I can get that response to you. Find out.
A little bit more. Keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense though, after.
And then as part of this traffic study, we'll be analyzing vehicular movements, bicycles, pedestrian counts, travel time, parking and loading, and changes in travel patterns. And then, moving to the renovating Kinloss Square project, we're looking at the existing conditions, which we touched upon in the 2 slides previous. There are long crossings, a concerning public space, bikes use the square as a cut through, and the kind of big idea, the proposed concept is to create better bike connections that are more direct, increase the amount of public space in the area, and provide shorter crossings. And then lastly, as Gigi had mentioned, Park Row is on a slightly different timeline. There's the long-term capital improvements, which $4 billion has already been dedicated to a capital pot, so to speak. And then there are also the near-term improvements, which are done in-house with DOT, with our street, with our SIP team. SIP is Street Improvement Project. So we use our interim materials, which are gravel and paint, planters, seating and edge objects. There'll be an art RFQ. And we will be looking at enhancing pedestrian and cyclist experience, redefine the corridor through signage, temporary art opportunities and planters, improving NYPD security checkpoints and rationalized parking, and then creating safer crossings and better connections to our road. And then, as I mentioned, the Park Row SIP is near term, so we have started our community engagement earlier this month. We did a walkthrough with our stakeholders to get feedback and speak with them about different art initiatives in Chinatown. Later this spring, we will be releasing an art RFQ. We will also be doing on-site surveying with our street ambassadors, be holding public workshops. And all through this time, we'll have ongoing coordination within our agency for design decisions, and then also coordinating with our sister agencies. We're planning on going to the community board in the summer, then going, and then there will be an opportunity to engage with the artists who've been selected from the DOT Park Row RFQ. And we hope to implement later in the summer.
So the Chinatown Welcome Gateway component, this gives you, just to reorient you, currently there are already 2 pieces of public art in the square, right? There is the American Legion Memorial Arch, and Parks always likes to remind me, the 2 benches on each side are part of it. That memorial is landmarked. Some of you who are familiar and walk through have noticed that there are braces on it. It's because there are cracks in the memorial. There is money set aside separately to repair it. So that process is on its own timeline. The Legion has expressed a strong desire for the arch to stay where it is. And so we are going to make every effort to work with them to do that. The other piece of public art is the Lindsay statue that was commissioned and sort of paid for by the Fujianese community stakeholders. They are open to moving it. Their request is that it continue to face east. And so that is something, these are like two sort of design constraints that we're being presented with as we look at potentially adding a third public art component to an enlarged plaza. Of course, any public art on public land will also have to, on its own, get through the Public Design Commission process. So that is, that will have to, you know, is later down the road. I will say that there will be, again, those of you who are familiar with Percent for Art, there will be a separate subgroup of Chinatown stakeholders that will work on a design brief that will kind of be put out as the RFP to have artists apply, and there will be a selection process. Of course, the existing money, it is unlikely that that is a sufficient amount to do both, you know, engineering study, design, construction. And so when this initial pot was discussed as part of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, there was a commitment for private fundraising. And so that also will happen as well, just for the gateway component. So the rest of everything you're hearing about is fully funded. It is just this component. Otherwise, you know, we'll have to build to the money that we have. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about engagement. We are starting early. We are thinking about engagement from really a 360-degree approach. With that, in conjunction with our overlapping elected officials, we have come up with a list of just under, just about 20 stakeholders that are serving as our working group membership, which of course Community Board 1 and Community Board 3 are part of. We kicked off a similar presentation with this group early last week, and then presented at, was it 2 weeks ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago. And then we also went to CB3 Transportation for the second time. And I think there are some people in this room who have been there for all 3 of these meetings. And so we really see this group as the group that we're kind of vetting our ideas through, giving us, you know, any pointers on things that we're omitting that we should add. And they're like our first line of feedback. In addition, we are planning lots of smaller kind of groups that have specific interest or background and knowledge on specific areas. So like artists for engaging Chinatown artists for and cultural groups for the gateway process, as well as the DOT SIPS process, thinking a little bit more about when we are looking at the entrances to this and to the CB1 side, some of the more CB1 focused stakeholders on each end of the Park Row, And so we'll also be doing public, like completely public town, maybe not town hall style, but sort of open house style where everyone can come and give feedback. And then, of course, our engagement consultant will also be assisting in doing targeted stakeholder conversations throughout this process. And so that brings us to project timeline. So the state, for DRI projects, the state has a very strong preference to see construction start within 2 years and then substantial completion by 5, right? So, you know, one of the questions I've gotten asked a lot is like, what does that mean? I think the answer here is it's a little bit fluid, right? Especially because this scale of city and state partnership is new. And as I like to remind the state frequently, like the city is paying for most of it. So while we are doing our very best to meet the state's requirements. We have also been asked to really think about how we can deliver substantial completion of these projects within 5 years. And so what you see here is our best thinking on how we can achieve that. The bottom dotted line are sort of key engagement milestones. And then you'll see both the Park Row and Kim Lau milestones in blue, and then the Welcome Gateway milestones in orange. Red, orange, reddish orange. And then also just to acknowledge that, you know, the city team understands that there are significant capital projects in and around Chinatown and on either end of Park Row. So, you know, we have reached out and have recurring meetings with DDC to get updates both on status of 70 Mulberry as well as Borough-based jail. We also understand that there is the federal courthouse is about to start some work, as well as expansion of PACE and their redesign of their sort of like main welcome area, and then sort of a to be determined future for Metropolitan Correctional Center. So this is just kind of a visualization of sort of what we're dealing with, I think, as a community in terms of impacts, and us letting you know that we know coordination has to be at the very top of everyone's minds, especially with all of the trucks and coming and going and all of the challenges that come with construction, right? And so we are very, very aware and trying to stay on top of that. In terms of next steps, we intend to have the engagement consultant on board shortly, I'd say within the next 4 to 6 weeks. We're going to kick off the Gateway subgroup. The working group is intended to meet every 4 to 6 weeks, and that is sort of the cadence that we're hoping to reach sort of internal milestones that we're able to share. I would get a lot of heat if I didn't mention that we are trying to tackle the NYPD parking situation in and around Park Row. For those of you who live on or near Park Row, I think you've noticed that there have been no large vans up on the sidewalk for this past 5 days and counting. Small wins, you know, we're going to take them where we can get them. There have been deputy mayor level conversations with this project, and you know, NYPD. Our on the ground connection that we've had for a long time, he has retired. So I think part of the conversation here is like, who is going to be our day-to-day person? But I will say that NYPD has, you know, like, change takes time. They're a big agency. And so it is a work in progress, and we're going to nudge, you know, our job is to nudge, and we're going to nudge, and we've asked all of the overlapping electeds to express their support for NYPD to come to the table and have like a really substantial conversation with us on this, you know, redesign and reconceptualization of the area. And so that will be, you know, that will be continuing. And I should also mention it's not just NYPD, it's also the federal, because of the U.S. Marshal, right? So the Congress member, we've had conversation with the Congress member, and he has pledged to be extremely supportive to get the relevant players to the table as well. And so when we look ahead for summer, we anticipate the first public engagement, as well as implementation of some of the SIPs. I don't think you mentioned, but the SIP improvements are DOT expense money. So that is also not coming out of the 55. That is separate and from DOT's own SIP program. So very excited that they're stepping up to do that work in addition to all the work that they're doing to make this happen. And then I think, you know, our really big moment will be the release of an RFP for the planning and design consultant, which we hope to really be able to release that before the end of summer. So this is, I want to say like very, very clearly that this is a very, very ambitious timeline for such a large scale and like complicated city, state, multi-agency, different levels of government project. But we've been told by really the governor and the mayor that this is a priority and that we need to get this really moving forward. So that is our commitment from the 3 teams that we are going to do that. And so I'm going to end here and happy to answer the questions that I can and then come back to you guys with the questions that we need to kind of bring back to our folks.
So I'm gonna start because we had a presentation on Monday with EDC and about all the resiliency. And one of the concerns that I have with the traffic study, doing it before congestion pricing starts, because you're not going to really get a fair picture and understanding based on everything I know, actually got enhanced on Monday because they showed us the redesigned slide and plan for redirecting the bike traffic from underneath the FDR Drive, which now goes through the intersections that you're talking about for the traffic study that'll start in March. They're rerouting immediately. And they have assigned traffic agents. So the traffic study, while the routing takes you to St. James Place all the way over to Catherine for the bike paths, is not going to be accurate for what you're looking for. You're counting bicyclists, but all of the bicyclists you're counting are the ones who are local, but everyone who would have been on the Greenway, because there will be no Greenway access in that small section. So it's a little difficult for me to understand how you.
I hear your concern about the representation of cyclists. Yes, that is part of the MPT. It's a temporary feature. And I believe that we can speak on somehow. The traffic study. I'll take
Again,
that back to our.
Right, because not only that, if you're doing timing on traffic studies, and you're doing car volume, and you're doing everything else, it's impacted by the fact that they just added a 2-way bike lane onto a street that's already narrow, and they now have traffic agents everywhere. So it is completely not going to be the reality of what a normal traffic study could be. So I'm asking once again, the same drum I beat when we had the other meeting. A traffic study should be done after congestion pricing comes in, and we should be checking with the EDC, the other side of the EDC and the resiliency team to see when the bicycle path will be put back and how far their progress could be made. Because otherwise, you're doing a traffic study saying, oh, well, look, you have 500 bicyclists here. But if 400 of them would be riding on the Greenway going from point A to point B, then and you have no way of knowing that because you can't stop everyone, right? I mean, it just doesn't seem like you're gonna get the best empirical data to be making a future long-term decision that should last for 100 years. So I'm off my soapbox. I'm gonna let anybody on the board and the public who has not been to another meeting go first. Eric.
Yeah, hi.
And then Andrew.
I'm really concerned about the current plan because since Park Road was closed to private vehicles, buses, cars, Pearl Street is backed up. It's actually more treacherous to cross because of that. And then also by only taking the data during the summer, that doesn't take into account school kids. There's no school buses during this time. It should really, and there are more people on vacation during this time.
Yes.
And also it doesn't reflect inclement weather, where we have, more rain and more snow, where there will not be as many cyclists. So, I hope that there's other plans considered, not just the one, we can make some modifications to it. I mean, I support having more transportation options, bicycling and walking, especially to facilitate the movement of tourists, both directions, to Fidei as well as to Chinatown. But I don't want to eliminate transportation options because, currently there's so much traffic on Worth Street, and looking at this plan, there's going to be more turns, more stoplights. So I don't think that's going to improve the traffic flow. I actually think it'll restrict it. But I'm open to see how this progresses, how this develops. But that's one of my main concerns.
I can provide some information specifically for Pearl as part of the Park Row SIP, which is the near-term improvement project that we are planning on implementing this year. We are looking at trying to make some safety enhancements at Pearl and St. James and along that corridor for pedestrians.
Oh, that's great. As a pedestrian, I support that, but then sometimes that compromises flow. Okay. So
That's right.
Eric, are you all done?
I'm done.
I'm gonna do Andrew, Jew online, and then Jared. Sorry. Andrea?
So I think it's great that, you're trying to bring more tourists in, but you also have to remember that this area is highly frequented by out-of-state visitors who come to New York City Chinatown to stock up on like goods, foods from out of state. So, we should have more tourists and be more walkable, but at the same time, make sure that the businesses are not unduly impacted. So when you reach out to get community input, I implore you to ask local businesses, because we're not just serving, people in the immediate vicinity in New York City. We're actually serving like people from out of state, from Pennsylvania, people come from Boston, people come from Philadelphia, they come from all over to come here to, get their stuff and bring it back to, their stores, in the boondocks to service, the community there. So, please keep the local businesses in mind when you do your outreach to ask for input.
Yeah, thank you so much for that comment. We have committed to doing a separate outreach, working together with the Chinatown Bidding Partnership, as well as the Chinese Chamber of Commerce and SBS, to do a small business roundtable with businesses in and around that area to make sure that we are not missing, any important sort of like you just said, business impact and business related concerns. So that is part of the engagement plan.
I think it would go even further, because the bid doesn't represent every single business there, and like every just go door to door and flyer people. I think that would make a huge difference in kind of shaping the way you think about how things move and how people utilize this area, instead of just just relying on the bid and just these big organizations, because they don't represent every single person, and each person, each business has a whole like ecosystem that they support.
Thank you, Andrea. We'll help you with outreach. We're not hanging flyers, but we'll do whatever electronic that we can help, and I'm sure CB3 will as well. Jared, and then Justine, and then Rosa, and then and Betty, and then we'll get to the public.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say is that, I realize that everybody here today presenting has their sort of role in this, but I find it sort of personally disappointing that this is existing sort of in its own vacuum when you have Canal Street right on the other side of it that continues to be a mess, that has been studied 3 times in the last 2 decades, where pedestrian fatalities happen far too regularly. It's just a shame that there couldn't have been a larger holistic vision for the area.
I agree.
Justine?
Thanks so much. I'm focusing a little on Park Row and the beautification. So it's looking at the new plans, you're not going to ever open it up to traffic, correct, for driving traffic?
That would be, the traffic study will look at that scenario, but for the improvements that we're making in 2024, we will keep the existing So.
And then, so this is the short-term beautification.
Yeah, so this
I
is
can't
really the DOT toolkit or some of the tools within the toolkit that we can use. Something that our near-term projects typically are 12 to 18 months from kind of community or ideas and working with the community to implementation. And because we're using these tools, that allows us to really get them on the ground and up and running quickly. So specific to Park Row, we're looking at barrier beautification. We will be having a public call and RFQ for art that will, our DOT art program will be running that. We also are looking at making wayfinding and signage improvements, upgrading some of the wayfinding that's currently along on Park Row, and then also doing a refresh at some of the locations. There's some signs that.
Also making it more lit. It's
We
a little scary walking there alone at
Yeah.
night through.
Yeah.
It's certainly you can, but it's a little bit much.
Yeah, we're looking into lighting enhancements. Then also really trying to clean up the gateways at both ends and on Park Road. Security, there's a lot of movable French barricades, a lot of kind of sugar cubes, and seeing what we can really do to make it more welcoming, both for residents.
And for businesses to open up.
You know,
because-
and of course, and everyone who's in the area, students, so that.
Because you're right, that's by phase too, right?
Yeah, and there's also, yeah.
First, a follow-up from Justine's question. Once you get all of those, because you already have a proposed circulation pattern, is that the proposed circulation pattern for bikes and peds that you showed on the slide in the beginning? And transit being buses, is that what DOT is proposing, period? Or because that illuminates then there's no opportunity for opening a Park Road? Or is that a temporary plan? Because that slide says proposed.
Okay, so that you're looking at the middle.
Yes.
Specifically. Yeah, this is really meant to be like a high level concept that we want to improve circulation along. Whether that's for pedestrians or bikes, or if in the future, following the findings of the traffic study for more vehicles. So I would caution reading too much into this. Like, that's what I'm like.
Because I only,
With all respect.
I ask because once you go through the beautification, which we definitely want, don't get me wrong, the question is, how hard of a change is it to then make substantive change from that point?
Well, so nothing will be constructed, like everything will be applied on the
It's not permanent.
surface, so it's not permanent. They're interim materials. So we're not constructing curbs or walls or anything like that. They're all in our interim materials.
And then the proposed concept that you have here is based off of which study? And is that what the study is gearing to accomplish? Because on on the slide where you have the existing condition and then, just a second, the larger public space where you said conceptual drawing, that is based on what concept? Which concept are you using?
This base is referencing the earlier 2009, but these are the goals that are being carried through the project. So larger public space, shorter crossing, direct bike connection.
So will there be a new design RFP, or is this the base that you're working on? Like, is it?
EDC can speak to the RFP process. So I think
I think we're gonna tag team on this answer.
Yeah.
This being a concept, I think we are going to look at the traffic study results to further guide, sort of how to meet these goals, right? These are the goals. I think the data is gonna give us some indication as to, what will work better, or maybe some of the assumptions that, may be incorrect. But this is not, like, this is in no way, like an actual, real design. Again, this is we're very, very early, like we announced this in February, right? Like we don't work that fast. And so the design will certainly be dependent on the conclusions that are reached based on the traffic study.
Yeah, yeah. The data informs the design and the physical, like.
It would be great if there was also included in the goals to take a serious look at what commercial needs are for the businesses. In the new world of outdoor roadbed dining, the commercial parking is wildly reduced in all of Chinatown. And we have, the closed streets now in some of the tinier streets, which is awesome for public and outdoor dining, but needs to be considered in the concept of where we're talking about connections. How are the commercial operators? Because you're not getting a dairy or a meat delivery on a cargo bike, right, for a restaurant. You're not getting tables and chairs delivered for event spaces on those types of things. And so I don't see any of the support for the commercial businesses like that from a different perspective included in the slides. And that's one thing that I wanted to put out there that I'd like to see when we're talking about the renovation is an acknowledgement of those business needs. Because you need to be able to have the food there to feed the tourists who come.
Connection space for containerized garbage cans, wherever that may go.
Right. So thank you, Justine. Who was next? Rosa, I think, and then Francis and Betty. Well, Betty, were you before Francis?
Betty was first,
Betty
and then.
All right, so Rosa.
A couple of questions. So I'm excited to say that Pace University is represented here tonight, and that they are doing a lot of work, and both in the building level, but also at Drum Gold Park. And I am curious because, and I did mention this at the meeting that we had before, but Pace actually was a supporter in the application for the Chinatown DRI regarding Park Row. And I think that they are an important stakeholder, given that they have thousands of students and that they have thousands of staff, 6,000 students, and then staff on top of that who want to connect to Chinatown. And they are literally at the terminus of this point. And so I feel like they should be represented in the group that is looking at all of this. They are definitely a huge stakeholder in the conversation. So that's one. And I think it would also be useful just to keep up to date with them on what they're planning for Drum Gold Park as they go through that process as well. The other thing is, I was curious about the $44.5 million that the DOT has found to work on this endeavor. I love that it's found. I wish we could flip you guys upside down, shake you a little more and get more out of you. But I'm curious about, so why, what?
I'm just laughing at the visual of like
Me picking up Ed. I'm gonna pick up Ed and flip him upside down. But in all seriousness, it is really clear to me that the 44.5 is 100% going to Kim Lau. And that the Gateway Arch project, you're saying they've got the 2.5, but they're on their own for the rest of it. I know that we are, enormously thankful for the SIP, and that the 4 million is staying on Park Row, but I'm wondering, since that huge amount of money has been found, why it is going to one project exclusively and not being sort of spread around. I guess that's one question. Another question, and then let's see. Oh, actually, can I just let you
you
answer
can
that?
come back to it. Don't worry. Ask about and then if you don't remember, we'll come back to it.
Okay, so then the other thing is, our biggest thing is we had an HRNA study done when we were looking at Gotham Park. And it showed that on completion of the project, it would be generating about $150 million of economic activity in our local business districts. So specifically Chinatown, South Street, Seaport, and FIDA. Not because Gotham Park's gonna be so awesome, but it's totally gonna be awesome, but because we're unlocking the 7 million pedestrian crossings a year on the Brooklyn Bridge. But our whole problem with Park Row, I mean, other than the lack of lighting, is significantly the lack of a sidewalk,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't get like 10,000 people a day into Chinatown if you don't have a sidewalk for them to walk on it. They have to walk in a two-way bike lane, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no sidewalk there when it used to be open for private vehicular traffic. So my question is, I would love to get you on tape or YouTube today right now saying that, yes, there will be a sidewalk and that it will be built this year.
And the sidewalk that's there, because it's a part of it, would be fixed. 'cause it's
Well,
all-
no, there's the side, yeah, well, okay, other than the fact that the existing sidewalk totally needs to be fixed and is intraversable, but there is no actual continuous
Correct.
safe sidewalk. There's also no curb cut
Mhm.
from the crappy sidewalk to get into the two-way bike lane
Mhm.
so that you can
We'll
actually.
call it undeveloped.
Undeveloped, I like that.
Developed instead of crappy.
Okay, undeveloped, right, we are on YouTube. And then, last question. So you're doing this work based on the Stantec and Thomas Balsley 2009 plan related to Kimley. Since we are, as you said, on an absolutely aggressive schedule to try to deliver this project, will you be picking up from where they started? Because they left it at 90% construction documents. Right? So are you gonna like build off of that work? Are you gonna start all over again from the beginning and redo the entire thing? Okay, I'm done with my questions. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, for Pace University, thank you for coming. So for the SIP, we are just now starting our community engagement and our stakeholder engagement. We've had one walkthrough that is specifically focused on art-related stakeholders who speak to art happening, related activities happening in Chinatown Pro. Our SIP team will be having stakeholder engagement specifically for the SIP and a community workshop later this spring. The next question.
Is the 2009 plan, are you taking from?
So, I mean, as I've said before, like, we need to complete this traffic study. So that's really kind of.
Can I just suggest for efficiency's sake?
No, because
Okay.
not everyone agreed on it. and
That's
right.
You cannot. I mean,
Okay.
that's your position and that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Not all
Yeah.
of us
But not
agree.
everybody
Okay.
agreed on it. And so I
Okay.
hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
It was not necessarily widely agreed on everyone. And if
Yeah.
we're doing this right, we should do this with a traffic
No.
study that does not.
no, I'm not saying
Support-
don't do the traffic study.
No.
No,
but
no,
we
the other
shouldn't be
piece.
Doing a traffic study that supports one plan that's already been done.
Yeah.
You don't half bake like a questionnaire to direct what you want. You need to get the raw data and have the
Because you
data
want it open.
inform
I
the
don't.
decisions from there. Fair enough?
Yes.
People
Sidewalk?
who live there don't.
Tammy, can they answer that question though? Because it didn't get answered. I couldn't hear it, the 2009 plans and how they are using them. I understand they're gonna, obviously do a traffic study, but are they using, how are they being used?
The traffic study will inform the design or will be a component in the design. We also have to look at the subsurface conditions and how to survey. There's a number of components.
Did you hear that, Alice?
It's not answering the question. Rose's question was a fair one. What are you doing? How are you using, if at all, the 2009 plans that were almost done, that were well underway in this project, if at all?
90% CDs. And you don't even have to use the plan. You could use the survey information, the subsurface.
No.
I'm not supporting it or not. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
We the taxpayers paid a lot of money for those plans. The landscape architect is still alive, Tom Balsley, as Rosa mentioned. I'm just curious, where are we at with that? That's all.
Is it outdated? That's.
Yeah, so I think the answer here is that we are looking to compile all reports and previous efforts as background that we will provide to the consultant and design team in the RFP. Usually when we engage consultants, we don't just say like, they respond to an RFP, but then we also kind of give them like a list of documents of previous research, previous efforts, all of that. And I think for sure this project, the 0809 plan, because it was so far along will be part of that, right? But this is not that in 2024. I mean, I think a very basic way for me to explain that, despite the fact that I don't work for DOT, is that the 2008-2009 plan was actually over $100 million in almost 20 years ago, right? So this is not, we cannot achieve, and it cannot be the same thing, because here we have much less. We have $55 million, right? So it will not be the same thing. This is not like this is not a gotcha, like we're implementing a plan from 08-09. That's not the case here. I don't, if that answers your question, Alice.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, that's a staggering amount of money that the city already paid. So it is interesting, that.
No, the city didn't pay that.
Well, they pay, oh, no, I didn't mean I'm sorry, I didn't mean sorry, I didn't mean the 100 million. I meant whatever was paid for the plans and for the engineers and all of that. I mean, that piece was already paid for. Anyway, thank you, Gigi. Yes, you answered the question. That was great.
Sidewalk.
And then for the SIP this year, we are looking at what improvements for pedestrians and cyclists we can make along Park Road that are accomplishable in this year.
So that was not a firm commitment that there would be a sidewalk.
We're looking at design right now.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you, we're looking at existing conditions, what's feasible, et cetera. So.
Okay, Rosa, we're moving on.
I know.
Betty is next, I believe, and then it was Francis. And then Justine, and then Nancy, we're gonna come to you after another board member. Okay, Betty, you're up.
No, people in the past have been speaking about the traffic study considerations that they want made. I have two, and then I'd like to bring up one thing related to being a wheelchair user. The largest traffic study considerations that I would like made when that's being finally planned, is to consider the routes and the volume of the cargo bikes, especially the 48-inch wide ones, that for the routes that planned after Blue Highways. In fact, we're gonna be hearing about Blue Highways at the next Transportation Committee meeting, so it's coming up soon. But those vehicles, if you're gonna make some predictions, that should be superimposed, because those vehicles are gonna have to go somewhere. And again, since they're delivering cargo and moving it, and they're bigger, it can do it more effectively, that will have a big impact on businesses, the kind of business that they could do, that they probably aren't even thinking about right now, because their whole landscape now is what kind of truck storage. The world's gonna be changing, and so that's an information problem right now, but the second consideration for the traffic is the impact of private cars would have on pedestrians at Frankfurt Street if private vehicles are reintroduced to Park Road. Because it's already a nightmare for me crossing those roads. If there were more vehicles going around, I'd go with the feds and are moving more and more towards putting with the federal DOT, looking at the impact of those vehicles on the pedestrians. We don't care about just hearing about the people in the cars. We need to hear about the people outside the cars as well. So that should be added to the traffic study, impact on pedestrians. As far as people with disabilities consideration, I'm talking specifically about Kinlow Square right now, because that's where the straightening out the traffic will be good. I look forward to changing the roads. The minor and low height, very hard to anticipate where to go or to see the whole spectrum, because I'm so low down. And people standing around me, I feel like I'm in a ditch or something. Anyway, the feds are moving more and more, and I know the Access Board is talking about getting the pedestrian ramp to be as wide as the crosswalk is, so that it accommodates all the strollers, all the walkers, all the wheelchairs, all of the delivery carts and everything else that's moving, letting them all funneling down to one little narrow place and trying to get around them, as well as the upset. I know I came Chambers Street to come over here, where if people paid any attention, you kind of go out at the corner, the apex of the corner versus on either side. And I know the vehicles always get shocked when I come out into Chambers Street, because they think I'm gonna be crossing and going along the side of Chambers Street. But the DOT sends me out into looking like I'm gonna be crossing Chambers Street, and the vehicles always kind of, you can watch the drivers and they're shocked, thinking I'm gonna continue in that direction, when obviously I'm trying to get out of that direction as fast as I can. If it's something as reversed and planned as Kinlow will be, don't do that. And make it wide enough that we don't have to jockey, because people always look at me in surprise. Why am I going for the curb cut? Well, big surprise. But they act like, why are you crossing me, cutting me off? Where did you think I was going to go? I mean, the pedestrians could maybe go anywhere to step up the curb. I can't. So it's not a big surprise. If they let me off over here, and then on the other side of the street, I have to be over here. I'm going to cross through the pedestrians. I have no choice to get to the other side of the street. So they need to kind of line up where they are, and if they make it broader to accommodate more people who need that use, that would make it much easier.
Thank you, Betty. Francis, you're next.
I'm a little disappointed at the scope because the scope of the project, because there are three major arteries that are coming in there. We've got Canal Street, we've got Park Row, and as Eric said, Pearl Street. And all of this stuff is Pearl Street is already like a mess. And to walk, you talk about beautifying and making underneath Park Row walkable. Try to walk under the Brooklyn Bridge there. That's a nightmare with the traffic going onto the bridge and going onto the FDR Drive and then trying to get the buses and stuff, trying to get to Chinatown. That I think that traffic study should include that area.
Should broaden your scope. So when you're looking at the scope and you've got St. James Place.
That turns into Pearl Madness.
Right, can you put?
At Madison Avenue down below, Madison Street. pardon me.
That intersection.
So Zach's gonna put back up the study that you have, and the study does come across on the other side of the Brooklyn Bridge at the top part, but is only in the bottom.
Yep.
So south of Gold Street, you've got the intersection at Gold, but you're not looking at the intersection at Pearl on the south side of the bridge. And if it's just that one intersection, that would be really helpful because it's actually a business road, so it's the only way that you're getting
into the downtown financial when you're going down there. That's a big deal.
If you can expand to include, at that one pinch point and then further down Pearl at Peck, then you'll be able to see truly what's going on if they're, taking the turn to go down towards the seaport or they're continuing in towards, Friday at Wall Street. So thank you very much, Francis, on that one. I think Justine was next.
Thank you so much. So going to the project schedule one, I know you want to get this done and you're talking about the traffic study sooner rather than later, but I'm really gonna push you guys to see if you would commit to waiting until after congestion pricing kicks in, because that's gonna change up everything. And as I think, Jason said, or somebody said, when school is in session, because you're gonna have school buses and people walking around, so.
Especially because there's a high school
At that intersection, that's right. So you've got, and then there's a grammar school around the block. If you get into all that, there's schools.
So there's schools too.
So I would ask that maybe instead of doing June, if this is what this is looking at, do it in September. It's not that much time. And it's a reasonable thing because there's so many changes. So again, I don't even know what the 2008 or 2009 study is, but to me, relying on that only and building on it makes no sense because it's 2024. Things have changed, but so I think that said, wait now for the next set of changes that were coming and then do the study. And I still love a commitment, if it's not today, but go back and take it in because it really makes no sense to do a study before the things change because then it's obsolete. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm taking notes because it sounds like we're working towards a resolution here. All the board members, Nancy?
Thank you. I'm gonna add one more thing to expanding the scope of the traffic study. Worth Street, it used to be 4 lanes, but now 2 of the lanes were taken up by illegal parking. The next building, like 2 complete lanes. So if we were able to clear those 2 lanes, it would clear up a lot of potential backup. But anyway, actually, this was from a resident, for the Community Board 3 that didn't get a chance to ask. But if you could look at the streets that are now clogged up with illegal parking, that potentially could open it up. The second thing is, again, I echo, thank you very much for the SIP. That means a lot, like anything will help. I have to advocate for repairing of the sidewalks that are tripping hazards. Kim Howe, Ward Street, all the way to Frankfurt. So, but you know that for me, the older population, parents with strollers, everyone's using, and those are tripping hazards on top of all the obstacles from the NYPD. So thank
Nancy, they do have Worth Street. There are 2 points on Worth Street from the intersection going back to, right around the park. Yeah, by Baxter and Mulberry. They go all the way down Worth.
Oh, all right, I'm
So
sorry.
that's included.
All right, thank you.
Amy,
We get some trees.
Yes, Jessica.
Trees along there. So there's like, yeah, there's like a couple trees that are in the square right now. And if the proposed plan takes place, then they wouldn't be there anymore. So, you know, any trees to replace that, even if you could get more trees than what was already there, that would be nice. That's all, just trees.
Speaking of parks, were you looped in on the update for the request, for James? Do you want to give that or you want me to do it?
we can do it.
Okay, so, yeah, I was just gonna go through, so in the CB3 meeting, there was, a Park Row resident, senior, who just expressed a lot of concern about the upkeep at James Madison Park, which is the park that's sort of, it's in CB1, which is sort of, surrounded by where the old Rite Aid and then, Mary Bertram High School, that sort of area. So, parks, we've already, Jessica will just talk through the couple of things.
Which one is it?
That,
James Madison Park.
yeah, just, the things that we've, that Parks has initiated and will, that is doing to kind of, address the upkeep issues.
Yeah, so I asked the Manhattan chief of ops, and he said the grounds at James Madison Plaza are maintained by Manhattan District's 3 staff at least 5 days a week. Sidewalks and paved surfaces are swept and litter and debris are cleaned out. The benches are cleaned off and slats are replaced as needed. The pails are cleaned out and bags are replaced. And tree branches that overgrow into common areas are pruned. The fenced off garden areas are maintained by horticulture. The area houses a lot of foot traffic, especially around lunchtime, and people tend to feed the pigeons the leftovers, which go out in trash, of course. And then the park is part of the agency's main routes, so on most days, any garbage that people leave will be cleaned up the following day.
Yeah.
But what about that sphere? There's this big sphere. Yes, thank you. That's not, is it working? Because I last remember it wasn't. Yeah. There's a globe and there's
this globe.
Yeah.
Oh,
That would be great if that could be
Repaired.
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 Where is that?
Yes.
In the park.
In the park.
A little.
It hasn't been repaired for a long.
Right.
Not the bill, but just.
We'll ask. Oh, maybe it says, let me give us the.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Justine. Francis, is there anybody else in the room? Sir, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Unless I have somebody online, then I'll alternate after the first 3. Sir, you're first.
Yes, Irving Lee. As far as the working group is concerned, I noticed that there's no representation from Confucius Plaza.
There is.
There is. Who's that specifically? Is it the Chinatown? Is it the Commerce or?
No, Mr. Moy, appointed Tom Lowe.
Oh, okay. And the, is it possible to add small property owners in the district? So what are the restrictions and what are the requirements?
Yeah, look, there's no hard and fast requirements, right? I think we were looking at a combination of residents, social service providers,
Business people?
business folks, certainly, the organizations that, have public art in this, you know, that are impacted currently by the work. And all of the elected officials also submitted lists that we took into consideration. And then also just size, like if you look at this and acknowledge that not everyone's gonna show up every time. So everyone gets a primary and an alternate. But if you add the community stakeholders, plus the local elected officials, plus the city project team, it's a really big group, right? So property owners, you know, certainly like that is a request that we've gotten, and there's a couple of other stakeholder groups that have reached out. So we will go back and think about whether or not it warrants expansion. But that's how the group kind of evolved.
All right, well, we could talk more about that later on, but,
Yeah, and I will also add, sorry, because Jeanette might see this, that there was a request to also include some of the DRI applicants that, on here as well. So that was another factor.
so I see the closing of Park Row as the main factor creating a lot of the traffic flows. And, the idea of merging the Bowery into St. James, I think is not tenable in terms of an operation, because you're dealing with everything being squeezed into one lane in one direction. But I think the question of Park Row being reopened would generate great economic activity if it's put in place alongside with the idea of a walkway and a bicycle lane, which I have no objection to. I think it's a wide area that we're dealing with in terms of roadways concerned. Now, maybe it's possible you can do both. You can have traffic being re-emitted, besides just the buses, on Park Row, but alleviate a lot of the traffic problems that exist. And not having to build another road, a separate roadway from the Bowery straight to St. James Place, which I think is a waste of money and just not efficient. But the whole premise behind the closing of Park Row is problematic in itself, in terms of the idea that it may be subject to a terrorist act, which I think is totally fraudulent in terms of what really happened in 9/11. But leaving that aside, who determines whether Park Row could be reopened or not? Is it the police department or is it the mayor?
Oh, Robin just left the room.
Robin, yes.
Is it NYPD counterterrorism or the mayor? Who's got the juice to make the final decision on the reopening of Park Row?
I don't know the answer to that. Smart cookie.
It is a critical question that's been asked numerous times.
Well, it's a complicated issue.
We would love to have it.
For 20+ years.
Yes. Love to take
Yes,
that back on the table.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Robin.
Now.
I don't know, you may get halfway down the hall.
Good night, Robin, thanks.
I do want to follow up on Gigi's opening comment, which is such an important point, which is your project is trying to revitalize Chinatown. But the important question there really is, what caused it to sort of deteriorate over time? And that is directly linked to the fact that Park Row was closed to car traffic. And it's not just that Park Row itself was closed to car traffic, but the NYPD co-opted Gold Street, Madison Street, and parts of Pearl Street. All the side streets on the side as well.
That's true.
So you've got this enormous blockade, which by the way is a blockade to the pedestrians that Rosa is talking about, because I live on Park Road and I cannot tell you the number of times tourists have come up to me not realizing that Park Road was open and they were looking for the entrance for the Brooklyn Bridge. And I had to tell them, no, these police officers are only blocking car traffic.
pedestrians can cross and move and go down. And I would walk them there because it was very difficult to find because the NYPD presence between the illegal parking on the sidewalks, they were sued and lost, and they were told they could not do it, but they continued to do it because, hey, when you control the street, you control whatever you want to do. Okay? So there's that point. So, yeah, you know, Rosa has a great point. More pedestrians. But guess what? The tourists don't even realize the street's open because it's all blocked off by the NYPD. Okay, that's number one. But number two, the other issue I'm now seeing is that, and I've made a bigger picture of it, I want to distribute it because I attended last Tuesday's meeting and I was completely befuddled by the pictures that you were handing out because it was so tiny. I couldn't see what was going on, and why don't you just pass that around? But essentially, what you've done is taken the 2009 project and you've shown it on this slide. And at this point, I'm on Adobe and made it larger, removed the little squares of color that was blocking the street so you could see better what was happening. And essentially, you have tried to redirect traffic to merge 8 lanes of traffic from Bowery, East Broadway, into what looks like 2 lanes down St. James Place. That is a street that the M103, the M9, and I believe the M15 runs down. Those are accordion buses. So for this accordion bus to possibly go down Bowery and make a sharp right onto Work and an immediate sharp left onto Park Road to pull over. So you created a situation in which you guarantee there will be no bus traffic running down Bowery into Park Road. So no, I do oppose this because if anyone's taking these buses, it's the tourists to come into Chinatown that you, the transportation alternative people, have pushing. Let's take MTA, let's walk. But yet you propose a plan in which the bus lane will be blocked off. So, you know what? And the reason I expanded this.
Goes down Madison.
And I saw it last Tuesday on that tiny little page, half the page, with lots of color blocking it so you couldn't even see it too closely. So, yeah, that's why I'm handing it out to you all so you can see what has been blocked and what the proposed plan is that they're gonna back this traffic study into. So, yeah, there's 2 points here. Let's reopen Park Road to car traffic. Let's revitalize Chinatown because that was the reason the businesses died.
20 of them, 24 of them.
And then you know what? And it's not a big ask. Let me find out because again, the NYPD has commandeered Gold Street, Madison, and Pearl. So you're not giving up much to give us back Park Road to car traffic and let the cars get through. Let the tourists realize the street is open and they can walk down it. And let's keep the buses for all the tourists. And for someone like me, I take the bus.
Me too.
Me too.
Thank you.
You go ahead.
Okay,
If
we're all for beautifying Park Row and, with.
there's more trees.
Yeah. And in terms of improving circulation, for decades, residents and small businesses have asked, the Chinatown bid to please connect us to the downtown connections van, which they are the only ones who can fund, okay? And they have not for decades. That's one way to bring tourists from Lower Manhattan, Tribeca, Battery Park City, up to Chinatown in a loop so that we could all take advantage of the service. We've begged and begged for decades. It's never been done. That's an easy fix, not spending 55 million and narrowing the streets so that the buses cannot run. Because what the DOT will propose next, which I'm sure they have denied, is what they did last time after Park Road was closed. They moved all the buses to Madison Street. It took us years of fighting to get at least 2 of them back. 2 of them never came back. Madison traffic is horrendous. The buses going in both directions. That they have to wait for, yes. So that is one of the problems. In terms of accidents, the fatalities have all been on Canal Street. Not, for the last 20 years, we look back at the data, there were no fatalities at Chatham Square, okay? But if we're creating a roadblock and a bottleneck, because I was part of the 2008-2009 Community Board 3 Chatham Square Task Force. At that time, we had a community-minded engineer. Now we are completely at the mercy of the DOT's hired guns. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You've been fighting before. I want to have to do it again. Because those same plans, these are basically the same plans that was defeated, 1 and 3 back in 2009. I have more to say, but I don't want to take up everybody's time.
I'm gonna go to a couple people online when you're done.
Okay.
Absolutely, please respond before we go online. And then I have 2 online that we'll do, and then we go back to.
So to your observation and point about the unwelcoming gateways, both at Worth and at Frankfurt, Harborough, the SIP that we are implementing this year, we're actively working with our sister agencies to make those more welcoming gateways. Clean up and better
When you say
organized.
well, gateways, you understand pedestrian friendly. Okay, but they just put that in last year. The NYPD spent all that money and they're gonna be like, oh yes, let's make it prettier now. I don't think so.
Well, I mean, there are also, as you know, the French barricades kind of migrate around the area, and so we want to better organize and ideally remove some of that.
You know, and it's all wonderful, but we've sued them. They've lost and they continue doing it because you know why? When you control something, it's under your sole control, you get to do whatever you want. So yes, they'll say, yes, we'll do it. And then like 4 months later.
Have sued them twice. After we won, they refused to move. We had to sue them again and had to raise more money for that. One last thing about the pinch point that everyone's talking about on Park Row, where the pedestrian walkway and bike lanes merge. There's an easy fix to that. There's an island where the police are parking. Why not get rid of that parking island for them and move the lanes over?
That should be a discussion when we're looking at the traffic studies and things like that. I don't think anyone in this room will disagree with you
Exactly.
about who controls the streets and the lawsuit and what we want. If it was up to CB1, there'd be not one agency parked car on the streets of Lower Manhattan.
Absolutely.
Just saying. So, do you guys have anything else?
Yeah, and then I just want to reiterate, this is a very conceptual plan. We're really looking at the goals here of creating more public space, shorter crossings and better bike connections to minimize the potential conflict between cyclists and pedestrians. This is not a done deal, this is just an the idea that we can have more public space, shorter crossings and better bike connections.
And you should keep in mind that there were no accidents there, no pedestrian deaths. And yet you're trying to fix something, I'm not really sure where that concept of fixing came from.
Okay. We have 2 people online who've been very patient and are not able to be urgently in front of my face. So I think the first person is Triple Edwards and the second person after Triple will be Howard Huey. Triple, you're Triple? Did I get that?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I agree with what the last 2 speakers said, and I know that the EDC is presenting this like this is a wish list of all these things that we want to solve these problems, but you're basing it off the 2009 plan. And as far as I know, the very definition of an insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again. This was defeated by the community. Do we have to go through that before? The LMDC did traffic studies. The CCRC did an independent study on the traffic, and none of it all stopped the project. It didn't happen. So I just don't understand. If you're going to present it like this, the EDC, then it seems like you're basing it all off the 2009 plan. So whether you're going to say it's hypothetical or not, it feels like that's how you're going to solve all the woes of everything that's going on. Now, the elephant in the room has been exposed. That's the NYPD. And yes, I understand that the officials are trying to get them to the table and so forth. You know, they don't give one point person for any of this. Everyone gets jumped around to different people within the organization so that everyone else can just be like, nope, shut it down. I don't want it. Right? Now, as someone who lives in Chatham Green, the reason why James Madison Park isn't fruitful or looking great, it's surrounded on two sides by NYPD and their parking. The reason why Park Road does not look enticing or look open to any visitors is because there's a checkpoint on Worth and Frankfurt. That is intimidating. Look, if you want to protect the federal courts, they already have another checkpoint set up at Pearl and Park, right? And then on the other side into NYPD 1PP, there's also another checkpoint set up. This has been overkill for such a long time. They are not compromising. They are not coexisting. They are commandeering. And all their placard abuse is why there is so much problem, because the streets are wider than they seem. You say you want to put a bike lane on St. James. Where? There is no space because there's parking on both sides. Look at Worth Street. It is so narrow because of that. It's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, I have to call out that elephant in the room. The NYPD is just turn this into a police state. If we got rid of that overkill and presence of bike racks and barricades and so forth and so on, we may not even have to do this Kim Lowry, whatever you want to call it, renovation. It's still under the same name. It was called the Park Row reconfiguration then. Now it's called the Kim Low renovation. So what you're adding in a gate, yes, we all want the beautification of Park Row, but slapping on some paint on barricades and painting the street, that's not going to wear very well. There's no infrastructure to upkeep any of these improvements that you're talking about. So that's kind of what I want to reiterate.
Thank you, Triple. We're getting late in the night. So Mr. Huey, and then there's a gentleman in the room, and I think we're gonna wind this up. Mr. Huey?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah. Oops, sorry, hang on a sec. We unmuted you and then muted you again. I apologize. Okay, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. For the last couple of weeks, as I walk across Park Row by the police barricades, I look at 6 lanes of oncoming traffic that according to this plan is going to be closed off and is going to be rerouted to the other side of the Veterans Arch. And I say, how is that going to work? And I'm hearing today that basically this new reconfiguration plan is an update of the 2009 plan, which was rejected, as Triple said, by CB1 and CB3. What I haven't heard is what are they doing, the concerns from 2009 and why it was rejected, how are they going to overcome those concerns? Because those concerns was based on the people on Park Row and the businesses of Chinatown, okay? And I haven't heard how this new plan is going to, or this really updated plan is going to address that, okay?
Mr. Huey, we don't have a plan yet.
Okay, right, well, I mean, it's proposed.
No plan yet.
Right, so I'm just saying that, well, this design, okay? The second thing is that, as you said, this is $100 million plan, okay? Okay, and now it's gonna be $50 million. Anytime you do a plan on the cheap, what happens? That's what you get. You get a cheap plan, okay? And who's gonna suffer? The people on Park Row and the business in Chinatown for the 5 years that they do the reconstruction to what might be a failed plan. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I hope when we get the plan, you'll certainly come and re-engage at that point, because we don't have one yet. All right, the gentleman in the room and the lady, I apologize.
Okay. Hi, my name is John Ost. I live in Southbridge Towers, where I have occasionally served on the board of directors. And I just want to give like a very, very short history After September 11th, the police closed Park Row completely to all traffic. And Southbridge joined with Chatham Green and Chatham Towers in a lawsuit to get it reopened. And after a period of time, they agreed to open it to buses and emergency vehicles, but emergency vehicles do not use it. I've never seen one use it because the clearance to get in, it takes them too long, so they don't. After they closed it, initially in September 11th, traffic was just horrible along that street that runs south to the Brooklyn Bridge. It's called Frankfurt Street. Fortunately, we got it reopened, but we do have a problem because we have Uber and Lyft, which if you walk around Lower Manhattan, you see that those guys are just all over the place. And so one of the board members here pointed out that it would probably be a good idea to hold off on the traffic study until after congestion pricing takes place, because we honestly don't know what the hell is going on down here. For those of you somewhat familiar with police headquarters, part of the approval, there was an approval process when police headquarters was built, and there was supposed to be a 400 parking spots, municipal parking garage, which they closed and never reopened. When Kelly was the commissioner, he made a quote on I think it was New York One. He said that originally police headquarters was built for 2,200 people, and they now have 4,700 people reporting there. So this might be part of the reason there's so much traffic down here. Point out one other thing regarding traffic. Initially, Pearl Street went into St. James Place, and then buses would go up that route and they would make a right onto East Broadway. For whatever reason, something was done, as maybe some study was done, and decided to stop that. They changed the configuration of Himlau Square, which pushed traffic all the way south to underneath the Brooklyn Bridge in front of my development, Southbridge Towers. So, I mean, we really have to consider, if we're doing something, what's the effect on the surrounding area? And I think very often that doesn't happen. Any traffic problem is going to create air pollution, which is a problem for us downtown. We have a lot more people living here now, a lot more people driving here than we did before September 11th. So I hope that, you'll take some of these things into consideration.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Allison Quo, and I just want to speak briefly as an artist, arts educator, and arts worker in Chinatown. Just regarding the fact that we have this opportunity to have public funding for an artwork to be in Chinatown, which is very rare. Many artists in Chinatown have to be community funded and self-funded. So I know that people are saying this isn't enough money. To me, it sounds like a lot of money. But what I've heard from people in the cultural sector in Chinatown, what I feel is that the format of the Gateway Arch is something that we do not feel connected to, that feels outdated and patronizing. And I wonder, what is the definition of a Gateway Arch, and why does it need to be it? What could it be? Some other kind of public artwork that would more speak to the future of Chinatown rather than kind of dating it into the past?
Absolutely. Sure. So I would like to stress very clearly that Arch is not part of the title of this project. It is the Gateway project, and Gateway is going to be open to interpretation to whatever artist wants to present as a concept for what they think could be a gateway. So there's no presupposition,
Presumption.
yeah, right? That it has to be any shape or size or material or anything.
But it's called a gateway.
Sure, and that is open for interpretation by any artist that wants to apply. And there will also be a public process where people can come in and look at the applicants and provide feedback. I think with the Percent for Art program, what is presented and what is chosen is often a concept, right? And then it has to be tailored to the space, the cost, all of these other sort of planning and design, not barriers, but constraints right? So absolutely hear you and understand that there is a divide. Some may call it a generational divide, some may call it just a conceptual divide on like what is the goal of this. And so I think that is gonna start with design, the compilation of a design brief. And that is the brief that the artists will respond to, submit their concept for consideration for the gateway. I mean, you have to start with something, right? I think that's the issue here is that, okay, maybe this wasn't the right image to put here, but conceptual design is something to think, a possibility, right? We are
Something
so,
to comment and view.
yeah, something for you guys to react to, and we're getting reactions. Right? Everybody, right? But I think that's my answer to you. We understand that there is that rub and that like finding that balance of how we convey and kind of like attract local artists.
I think the language that was shared in the press made it really sound like it would have to be an arch, so I'm glad to hear that that's not the case.
Awesome.
Any EDC material, you will not see the word.
Okay, so here's, I'm gonna make some comments. The board needs to speak with a voice, and this is the voice that we respond is by resolution. So I'm gonna say that I think we should do a resolution of asks. Not that we're ready to make determinations on anything, but asks of things that we want. For example, I would say that we add, that in their traffic study, we add parts of Pearl Street on the south side to the study, that the scope gets expanded to consider the impacts on Canal Street, even if it's not studied, but what necessarily, where's the traffic going? How will it long-term affect Canal? Request that the traffic study goes after congestion pricing is implemented and includes the period for when schools are in session.
Correct.
Do not use the 2009 study as a base, but this should be a beginning of a new look really at what Chinatown is, including Betty's points about ensuring that we have access and that whatever sidewalks are designed, that when you're looking at a study and you're looking at it, that they are wide enough, and then curb cuts at every intersection. Let's just not, I mean, I know it's the law, but really, let's just
Put
make
it
sure
down.
that that's, put it down there. I think I got both of them right. And then,
The police.
look at where the placards are, look at how we can go there, how we can reopen. And the fact of the matter is, this summer, Park Row was gonna open. There was signs put up, things were gonna happen, Park Row was gonna be open. So maybe Park Row should be reopened at some point during the study as part of a phased look at the way it works.
Yeah.
Whether it's in the middle of the winter when we have less pedestrians and less bicyclists, but that is something that maybe it could be considered. We're not saying it has to be, but it should be something that we speak. We've had enough people arguing about access that maybe that's included in part of a study and see how it affects things. Because it's been 20 some odd years. And maybe that, Park Road. What else?
Pilot program?
We're making it be. Not getting there. We're talking about traffic study, because that's what they brought to us. So that's what we're talking about, is including that, and the traffic study takes into account and considers the current double park bicycle lane that's temporarily on St. James Place, which is in your study zone all the way up to Catherine. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna do that, but, you know, maybe that pushes the traffic study back some. Maybe that takes a look and at doing the art things first, the traffic study a little bit later, somewhere in your fold to make sure that you can include as much as you can. Also, I heard tonight to expand the work group to add PACE and the DRI.
DRI is already, there are a significant number of DRI recipients, grant recipients that are on the stakeholder group.
Okay, definitely to add PACE, include, let's see what else.
Also, I guess, Irving, well, I hear your point. I was just thinking through it more, you know, CTBA is, they are the property owners of, a majority of the property owners of the corridor.
You should encourage CBCBA to.
They're a member.
They're a
That's what
member.
I'm saying, is that there is.
But as a member, they should do outreach to the constituency. If constituency isn't feeling that they're represented, then they should be doing a study of their constituency so that people are heard and the person who sits at the table has heard, like we heard tonight from everybody. And the other thing in reference to the art was to ensure that there is on the panel who's reviewing the art, a diverse group of artists. So
So the committee that votes on the artist, one of the requirements is that there is a local artist that is part of that decision-making panel.
So I'd say more than one and a diversity of ages to represent the current and the future. Because one will, you know,
Happy to bring DCLA in
Yeah.
to explain their process. This is a citywide program,
Yeah.
right? So they have a process, which I am not, I can't speak to at this point, but I hear you.
I would say on a resolution, we'd say more than one local person.
Can I ask that Southbridge Towers be included as part of the group, constituent groups?
You can, but that's, I think, why I'm there for CB1.
Yeah, I mean, I-
represent all of CB1.
I will stress that the core of this project is Kinlaw Square, which is in CB3.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to,
Yeah, we're there because we represent, CB1 has a seat at the table because we represent Southbridge Towers in that group. And we represent half of Park Row and Murray Bertram High School that's there and St. James Park. The hospital would be a really interesting, we did ask them about that. And so we do think that the connection of Lower Manhattan Hospital there would be really important.
so I know you, I'm not kind of like, we are looking at a separate engagement process for the stakeholders along Gold, which would include PACE, the hospital, a representation from Southbridge for when we talk about that particular entrance as a start. We're not at the point where we're there yet, but it is something that we are thinking about because we have heard the feedback. But yes, understand.
And I think
The firehouse is there and.
Okay, so I think Francis,
Beekman Street is.
I think what we should do for CB1 is we and CB1 should convene the group of the stakeholders of that area. Southbridge Tower should come and help us and everyone from the south side of the bridge to come around and share this presentation. And we should do that in CB1 so we can then share that. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And sorry to add to about the artists, if I could, and then see what people think, but, for the beautification of Park Row, what about relying, either solely or mostly on local artists of Chinatown?
So,
There's a process that I
Yeah.
think she's.
They
gonna
have a
talk about.
process.
yeah, so DOT Art they will have, release an RFQ, which is an open
Oh, so people
call.
can do that. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's cool. All right.
When that RFQ is released, I will be sending it to the community boards and.
We'll be sending it everywhere and anywhere.
All right, perfect.
Okay, so with all of those asks that I just said in here, Betty, what did I miss?
I really think that there needs to be something about who is the most, when you talk about traffic, for that whole area. It should be the most vulnerable that are looked at. So everything should be done, given a response to how are pedestrians affected, how are cyclists affected. I mean, the pedestrians are obviously the most, but also mass transit. That's what the most people use.
Focus on most vulnerable. Okay,
Yeah,
that
that's
could
a
go
good
in the
point.
reso. Rosa,
Sidewalk.
Trees.
I put sidewalk already and trees. I have plus trees right here.
Point of information.
Lighting,
You have to wait, sorry.
lighting.
Yeah, more lights, but.
But they said they're doing that already.
No, they said they're considering it.
We're looking into the feasibility.
Plus trees, plus lighting, and that's both temporary and permanent. Okay.
Wayfinder.
With all of this, and everything that I just read out, do we have a?
Can I call the
Consensus.
question?
Resolve first.
Therefore be it resolved, these are the additional asks that CB1 is asking based on the presentation given today for both the temporary program, which we're asking for more trees and for more lights, And for the art program, we are asking for more than one local person. And for the traffic study, we're asking for a focus on the most vulnerable, include potentially a period where Park Row is open to assess that, to add Pearl Street, add the scope considered Canal Street impacts, not the sidewalk, size of the sidewalk potentials at intersections, looking where the placard cars are parked. Do not use the 2009 study as a base for the graphic study to inform, to confirm, but to start anew and afresh. And then after congestion pricing is installed, when schools are in session, and then extend the working group in some way to add PACE or LMH and more DRI. Now that could be separate, as Gigi said, or it could be included, but just to add the input of that. And then I will note on there that as a whereas that CB1 will gather constituents on the south side.
And bring in.
Anything add, just say that this includes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Includes, gotcha.
I object to a pilot traffic study unless there is a sidewalk so that people are not walking in the two-way bike lane. I feel
have
like
the
that's
sidewalk.
priority.
Have the sidewalk in there.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to, if we have the sidewalk, we have the sidewalk in there. We have both.
No, I'm saying that if you're gonna do a traffic study that allows private vehicles on Park Road, when we physically do not yet have a sidewalk.
I said both.
Yeah.
I said both, that we would get in the
Yeah.
temporary program, trees, lights, and sidewalk.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think that's first.
Yeah.
I think that's just the piece, because the traffic, that we can't even almost discuss the traffic.
Yeah,
till
we can't open to
the-
the.
Pardon my language.
Yes.
Have
the
anything
police
to
are-
do with. So I would leave the
reallocated.
traffic for after
Yeah.
I get the sidewalks and everything, the
We
driveway.
get trees, art, sidewalks.
I mean,
Okay.
we're gonna get it
And
if
get
we
rid
get
of
it,
the
but.
All right, so
With that,
all of that,
okay, I'll call the question again.
it's second. All right, do we have all in favor? Do we have any abstentions? Do we have any recusals? And no opposition, motion passes.
Online.
Alice and Andrea, we're fine. Okay. Wow, thank you guys. I really appreciate all of the time, and I'm sorry, Kate, God knows you spent enough time with us this week.
I'm gonna be on full board virtually.
Okay.
What? You're not gonna call?
I don't blame you.
Don't blame.
For the community board members, thank you guys. I really appreciate all of the time. We have two other things tonight. We can do committee reports, but all I'm gonna say is if you have a hot topic and you think you need to be first, raise your hand.
Do we have a hot topic?
What?
No, I just wanna go
To be
first.
At the community board for SLA. We don't, no. We don't at all.
No.
You know, more or less. We don't need to go.
Okay, so, quality of life is gonna go first this month, if I understand correctly. Battery Park City can go second because you were last.
Thank you.
All right, listen, I need
I'll be
every,
back.
Eric, I need you. Stay. Yep. Listen, her CB1 member.
CB1 member.
Rosa.
Board member CB1.
Rosa, I need you. Okay.
Listen, yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Gigi and team. Have a great night.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you. I swear, I feel like Jimmy, you know, Jimmy says something all the time at the end. I'm always like, and thank you, Kate, I'm sorry.
Oh, Matt Damon.
Yeah. All right. So we only have, and I'm gonna bring this under new business, we only have until the end of March because of budget to pass a resolution about cannabis in the budget line. There are things that we just need to support. This is the beginning of OCM and CCB.
Yeah.
They have a very small list of who is legal. Great.
Yeah, like 12.
Get the list, publish the list. The thing that disturbs me personally the most about the budget is that enforcement is only as directed by OCM
Yes.
for illegal cannabis shops. And I think that's ridiculous. There's a list of maybe 100 statewide so far. That list is made public. We need to be able to unshackle state PD and New York City PD to be able to close these shops.
Yes.
Period. Not at the direction of OCM. OCM tells us who's legal. Anybody who's not on that list
is out.
You're out. If you're pending, you're not supposed to be open yet.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean, it's like golf. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
So,
And so, yes, can we do that?
so we can do that. We did, Jared helped work on this earlier.
Yeah.
So he wrote a resolution on this, so I'm just gonna read some of his, notes out. And we can go from there. If we're good on this, then we're gonna pass it tonight. It'll go to full board, and then we send it to all the other community boards, and there were a couple, yeah.
Well, I just have one question.
Yes.
The governor
Yep.
has just stated she's going to redo,
This
and
is,
I don't trust it.
well, this is part of.
All the cannabis,
So
because there's no enforcement, there's no
Well,
nothing.
but
This would be a way
This
for her
is
to
part
do
of her
it.
redo,
Yeah.
that she's not actually, she's not here, so she's not seeing what we see on the
That's
ground.
exactly right.
So these are why we're going down there.
Okay.
It's kind of, if it's on the illegal, if it's on the legal list, great. If it's not, it's considered illegal. And the direction that I want to change on here, she says, is it's that have been requested by OCM. For me, on her budget line, that's what enforcement is based on. And I want to say, or any local government authorized pursuant to the subdivision.
Yes, we
Right.
should have. because
This
we
section
um,
don't have
that have
any.
been reported to 311 or any county attorney, council, local government, police officer, peace officer with jurisdiction. Basically, if you see an illegal store and you report it to 311, or you report it to your local precinct, or you report it to your council member, they should be able to allow the local jurisdiction of enforcement to
Absolutely.
look and say, hey,
You're illegal.
Zach's store is not on the legal list. Let's go inspect it and shut it
So
down.
what are they doing with the ones that I type in on their website all the time?
We have no idea. That's the other thing. So hold on. So it's establish a formal process to accept complaints aggregated by municipalities and provide funding for municipalities to build the infrastructure to do so, to allow citizens to centralize complaints via 311 in NYC for referral then up to OCM. Establish a formal process for responding to public complaints with a mandated 30-day response on what action is being taken.
Yes.
And create a trackable case number.
Yes.
If that's missing. Establish a more significant penalty for any site that is knowingly sold to minors or has designated their shops in a manner that
Here,
can
here.
reasonably be
a
to
fine.
entice.
A big
Yeah,
fine,
big
not a
fine.
nickel.
This is
But yeah, so far this is good.
Illegal stores.
Everything is
Because
illegal.
The ones
To make them.
already have rules and regs.
Like-
Publish a running list of shops that have been the subject of adverse actions against them, because we don't know how many times or who's been shut down.
Mhm.
Add employees to the list of designated responsible parties as a way to discourage employment and avoid murky ownership arguments.
Wait, what does that mean?
Hold employees responsible. for
Okay.
businesses' actions.
You're selling to a child, you're selling to a child.
Okay.
You should not be selling to a
The
child.
you as the employee should know better beyond fact. Okay.
Add members, partners, and or investors in any partnership, LLP, LLC, or corporation to the list of responsible parties.
Yes.
Because again, the poor guy who's trying to run the shop is not the one necessarily responsible for leasing and doing. Add landlords and leaseholds to other responsible parties. The idea to hold landlords accountable and also avoid situations where the leaseholder and operating company are bifurcated. Where the landlord knowingly rents to
An
a
illegal
cannabis
shop.
operation.
Yeah, that, yeah.
Charges them $100,000.
A non-legal.
Non-legal, illegal.
Non-legal.
But it's not legal. That's all I can check is if it's legal or not.
Yeah.
Right, if he's not on the list of an approved location, he's not on.
Right, that's what I was verifying.
Yes.
That's what you were-
Absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely. And eliminate the proposed carve out for de minimis sales. There needs to be clear lines of what to follow, and either venue can sell it or they cannot.
Okay, right.
But I understand, you know, the de minimis was there because there was a newspaper stand guy who went to jail for selling vape stuff
Oh, okay,
Okay.
that's not.
across the street from a illegal cannabis store.
But the illegal cannabis store guy was okay?
He wasn't arrested.
He wasn't about, you know.
That's ridiculous.
So this is the thing, you're either in or you're out. You can always make the rules easier, but we started with stuff that there's nothing here. There's no enforcement
No.
because their hands are tied or handcuffed, depending on how you want.
Can we say something about the landlords that are charging legal?
I don't want to get into
Yeah.
that.
I think
That
we
should be-
can.
That should be
You couldn't even get the
another,
money back.
that should be
Yeah.
a separate resolution. This is targeting
Right, okay.
the illegal shops and the
Yeah,
ability
okay, fair.
of local to enforce it and
That-
finding a way to get it
Okay,
out.
I think we should do that also, but not
I
tonight.
do, and we can do that another night. I feel free to take a lead, write up all your notes, send
Okay,
it
like
to
Jack,
Brandon.
okay, yes,
and
okay,
Karen,
yep,
Right?
yep.
So that is what the resolution will be. If we have, if that works for everybody.
I'll call the question.
Second.
But I have a concern about the employees.
Well, they shouldn't. The employees of the illegal, I'm sorry. No, no, you're right, I agree, they want Well, to then, be selling to children.
And that's what it's focused
But
on,
they
selling to
also,
children.
They're working in an illegal shop.
I want to sure that they know that it's an illegal shop. Oh, sure they
Well,
do. Come
All right.
Forget it, what I'm saying, sort out, that's stupid, okay.
Illegal drugs.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
The question was called, the question was seconded. Do I have an all in favor? Do I have any opposed, any abstentions, any refusals?
Those
Motion
online, those
passes.
online, anybody
Is
online?
anyone representing a committee here?
Yeah, Eric is. Jill is representing quality of life.
Yeah, I can represent
Transportation, parks. I didn't follow the beginning.
Parks and Internet. Thank you both. We're representing SLA.
I'm sorry, I couldn't unmute Tammy. I don't know, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm afraid there was an abstention on the first one that came forth and the second. So Park Row and this, I'm abstaining. It's a little unclear. It was like a rapid fire and that, so.
That's
That's all.
okay, gotcha. That's
Yep.
all right, we're good. All right.
I'm sorry, I can't do that.
It's 9:50. Thank you, Alice, no problem. With that, we're gonna adjourn the meeting. If people have topics that they want brought into committees, please say something. Really. I know people get tired of hearing the same old, so if you have an idea, like Justine just did, write it up, do some due diligence, send it to the chair of the committee and the board office, and we move forward. That's how we do things here, okay? With that, meeting adjourned at 9:17.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're heroes, huh?
And I'm going to the.
Well, I ran it. Yes, but.
But that wasn't.
Yeah, I learned to live. I'm glad I never rode so.
I know, right, you know.
Yeah. No. Nice day.
That's
nice.
So.
Oh, you're right.
Much work.
Do you know what she said?
How much work is so happening.
Not how this works. You guys run a good meeting.
Learn the hard way, yeah. Except, you know what, you weren't.
You're definitely being recorded.
Of course.
Yeah.
But you get to go first now.